would rather deal with somebody who is an asshole but competent than somebody who is nice and incompetent.
Yeah.
People who are nice and incompetent, I'll go have barbecue and drink beer with them.
Oh, yeah. No, it's those ones that are incompetent that just automatically just boils the blood.
Yes, I hate working with them.
Mm-hmm.
And what frustrates me is, again, some of them are really nice people, but they're not where they should be. They should be some, and I have, in the fire service, I have to deal with some of them who have they've surpassed civil service expectations, but they don't meet my expectations.
Yeah.
I get for example, having fears, but in the work that we do, my biggest fear is failing, not myself,
Others,
failing you, failing my crew, failing the people who rely on me. I'm okay if I get hurt. I know it's a risk of the job. I don't want to die. But the biggest fear I have is failure to live up to the expectations of others who I serve and who serve me.
and I think a lot of first responders, police, firefighters, EMS, and everything, they tend to forget that they're public servants, that they're doing this for the good of the public, and they need to leave their ego at the door. They need to leave their personal shit at home.
Yes.
And it's the same with the military. When you
definitely.
You join up, you join up with the expectation, not the hope, but the expectation that something could go wrong and catastrophic, and you could die.
Yes.
Do we want that? No, but it's you join the job for a reason.
Yes. Before I was married, I was dating what is now my wife, very casually. She basically told me, "I'm with you until I find somebody better." She goes, we don't match well enough, but you're a lot of fun right now. And April of 2001, she comes to me and says, "I leave for boot camp in 30 days.
Oh, man.
And I guess at that point I was already falling in love with her, and I was pretty upset. But I tried to hide it, and we tried to make the most of it. So take a guess where she was at 9/11 in boot camp, and all they told her is, "We're going to war."
Mm-hmm.
That's all she knew. She didn't know what had happened. She didn't know where. But they basically came in one morning and said, "Get up, get on your feet, soldiers. You're going to war." I remember what I was doing. I worked for the phone company as a Unix system administrator, and I remember walking around in a daze in the hallways while everyone was streaming stuff in the news, and watching, and we were just stunned. At that point, I had no idea where the future was going. All I knew is, she was sitting there in boot camp and probably had no idea. And of course, a lot of things had gone badly enough before her departure that we didn't speak for quite a while. And her mom actually kind of held on to me and got us writing again. And ironically, despite all that, she never deployed until 2008.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a 88 hotel, and she, for years, she was a reservist. She unloaded equipment, particularly in the port of Beaumont, coming back, and battle damaged equipment a lot of the time, stuff that still had rotting blood in it. And she'd go over there for 2 weeks. And then finally in 2008, they cross-leveled her to a unit in Mobile, Alabama. She was one of 3 females in the unit and one of 2 whites. And she was an outsider. And it was rough. But she got a battle buddy for life out of that. They sent her over to Arif John. I always mispronounce it. So if I say something wrong, feel free to correct me. I'd rather hear that.
I don't even know how it's done. I didn't go to Afghanistan because that's what that was, right?
Kuwait.
Okay.
Originally, she was supposed to go to Kandahar. Yeah. And the shit was still going down there. There was, nightly mortaring, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, I know about Kandahar.
Yeah.
That
okay.
one I do know.
Yeah, so she was originally supposed to go there, but they ended up sending her to Kuwait. But she went everywhere. She said a lot of the places she's not allowed to tell me, because of the classification. But ironically, what she ended up doing most of the time was locate Connex boxes. because those aren't owned by the government, apparently. They're leased.
Oh.
So when the truck driver goes out and drops one off, he's supposed to bring one back. But what do you do when people are shooting at you?
You leave it.
You slow down, you unhook, and you try to do it on the run. And so she spent a lot of time traveling, dealing with that kind of stuff. It was hard on us because, again, with her deployment, we ended up getting into a big hoo-ha right before that. And I also lost my job at the same time. I went through, honestly, from 2002 until about 2009, I went through a lot of employment issues. 2009, that was when, so I guess it was actually right before deployment. She left, I believe, March of 2008. I lost my job in January of 2008. I was a financial advisor for Edward Jones at the time. And I'd come and knock on your door and get all your finances out, but getting you to write a check. Some people are salesmen.
Yeah.
I can bullshit with people all day. I can give you great advice on how to, build a plan, but getting you to write me a check never happened. So I come back and I go, I'm going to go down to Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and apply for a job. And she was like, hell you are. She lost it on me. So a week or two later, after talking to some people, I said, well, I'll go apply for the Houston Fire Department. She goes, that sounds like a great idea. Later, it turned out she didn't want me being a police officer before her. She was working on a CJ degree. Her dream job was to be a detective and investigator. And she didn't want me. Chris, it took years for her to come out with that.
I was about to say, I mean, that had to have taken some time, and especially the fact that it's like, no, I want that job first. You wait.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm happier where I'm at. One thing I've realized is no matter how good a police officer you are, you're never called out because people love you. You're called out because somebody needs you and somebody probably hates you just because what you represent. You don't know what to expect from people. Somebody can look perfectly normal until they let it loose. Stuff I go into, 99% of the time, everyone wants you there. If it's a fire, which, you already know what fire's going to do. You already know what the heat and smoke and toxicity in the building that was perfectly fine when it's not wet or burning. Gravity, there's always a fear of gravity in that. Yeah. Because while the building's in good shape, gravity is overcome by the strength of the structure. But once you get it wet, we're not talking solid wood in most houses anymore. There's a lot of, particulate material, OSB.
And that's just going to absorb it and
and then when it gets hot, all the glues that hold it together break down, and then it burns really fast. So, it's a different approach. You're going into a hostile environment. You know that the faster you work, the more you get done, the better your outcome is. I had an officer at one point, Brad Langford. He's retired now. He retired in 2016 after 35 years of service. I got to him late in his career. He is he had a reputation for yelling a lot. He had a reputation for tearing it up at Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. He was one of those guys that they often had to carry out.
Oh, geez.
But he was a hell of a fireman. He was one of those guys, if you showed up and worked for him, if you didn't become a good fireman, the fault wasn't his. The fault was yours. He was a huge inspiration to me. I remember at one point him telling me, I was told by an old head captain who had a lot of experience, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like you. But he goes, this is after he retired, he tells me, he goes, I think on the fireground we make a lot of our own luck. He goes, there's so much, kind of so much going on that as long as we move towards a goal and are doing something, we can create better circumstances. We can create a better outcome, even if it's not the right thing to be doing at the time. He goes, but always moving and always working because the fire is always burning. And that was a little bit of a shock because what he's acknowledging is that chance, luck is just as much a factor as skill and experience. And this is a guy, I think what led to that is I told him, I said, if we're sitting here in engine 39, we pull up to the gates of hell with fire going everywhere. And you said, we're going in. I'd just ask, we're grabbing a 2.5 or a 1 3/4 inch hand line.
Yeah.
There was no hesitation. I have very few pictures of my career. I've worked in stations where we worked and usually didn't have the time. I admire the guys who have crews who are multi-talented enough or have helmet-mounted cameras. But I remember as a firefighter, I worked in Northeast Houston at Cashmere Gardens, 5th Ward, Settegast Heights area, very poor black communities. They're very dependent on the services that we offer because most of them don't have health insurance. Most of them don't have homeowners insurance. All they have is 911 if something goes wrong. And if we're not there, if we can't help them, they lose everything. We got called out to a fire. It was not in our territory, but we were first due company because there was another working fire in the area. So we get out there. We hear the second due company announce they've been delayed by a train. Third due company is even further out. And we pull up and it is burning. And it's not quite a ranch style house, not quite a shotgun shack. It's older construction. It's small, a smaller house. As we're facing it, we have a carport on the left, what is likely a kitchen, and then living room and bedroom areas on the right. We got burglar bars and everything. So we decided to go around to the back door because most people don't have burglar bars on the back door.
Because they don't think anyone's going to go around that far.
Yeah, you would think.
Once you see the front.
Yeah, once you see all that, it's like, oh man, I'm not even going to go. But for whatever reason, I squeezed between the fence and I was on the first line. So I pulled the nozzle and pulled the hose line off. Captain walks underneath the carport. Plugman walks underneath the carport. I decided to go between the fence and the carport, kind of having to squeeze through in all the gear, get it all around. We get to the back door. The other guy's kicking in the door. We go in. We put all kind of fire out. But we can't find a doorway to the rest of the house. All we're finding is wood slats like this on the wall that are bare. And we're like, that's really weird. Later on, we found out it was a shiplap ceiling that had burned and folded over and collapsed and completely covered the wall.
Oh, wow.
So, but in the meantime, apparently what happened is right as the second arriving engine company showed up, that carport collapsed and took down part of the wall with it. They go, are they in there? I'm like, yeah, they're in there. And nowadays, they're real big on you don't go in until you have, people on the outside as well. The basic is called the 2 in, 2 out rule. If you got 2 guys going into the fire environment, we call IDLH environment, imminently dangerous to life and health.
Okay.
If you 2 guys go in, you have to have 2 guys as an interim rescue team.
Almost like a spotter in a way.
Right. The thing is, if military, if you're advancing across open terrain, you want overwatch. So if you got 2 of you going out, you got 2 of you scanning and providing covering fire.
Because, you start seeing that roof sagging something, you can be like, get the fuck out. Come on, go.
Yeah. So they thought we're in there. So we come back around, and I'm like, well, my hose line's not trapped because for some stupid reason, I decided to go around the long way. So we come back around. Somebody got a picture. The roof of the building's burning. That engine company's attacking the burglar bars, tearing them off, and we're standing there patiently waiting behind them. They open the doors, and we go walking in. They're like, and the inside of the house is clear. Oh. No smoke, no fire. You can see, and so we go walking in. And when there's a pressure change, you often feel it in your ears. I felt a sudden pressure change in my ears. My captain's in front of me. Everything's clear. I look behind me and everyone's holding up pieces of the ceiling.
Shit.
Yeah. So I look around. He just calmly points at the door. All walking back out. Everyone gently putting a piece of the ceiling down.
Wow.
We go back out. Hit it from the outside a little bit. Once the collapse is finished, we all go right back in. And to me, that was something that was incredibly admirable. Somebody who can remain incredibly calm under pressure, never lose sight of the goal. I always hope to promote and come back and drive him on his apparatus, but I promoted about the same time he retired. They said he showed up, didn't say anything, showed up on the first day of the tour. Second day, showed up in civilian clothes, and they're like, what's wrong? He's like, I'm done. Well, what are you here for? I'm here to watch my engine run one last time. And then what? He goes, I'm going to the casinos in Louisiana.
Going to enjoy that retirement.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I found out he has a muscular wasting condition that's not fire service related. We didn't know about it. We knew, apparently he knew it ran in his family. I didn't find out about it. I was afraid he finally let us throw a retirement party about a year and a half afterwards, and he had the shakes so bad. I was afraid he either had Parkinson's or had some extreme alcoholism going on. Mm-hmm. And it turns out it's him, his nephew. I found out because his niece is working towards being in the fire department. She came out to my station to do ambulance ride-outs. And I'm like, who are you again? She goes, oh, Brett Sims is my father. I'm like, I know your uncle and your aunt, and I know Brett. And I said, what's he doing nowadays? She goes, well, he's downtown. He has da-da-da-da. I go, what is that? She goes, it's a degenerative disease. She goes, Uncle Brad has it as well. And it's hard to see somebody who is so vital, see that degradation. That could be me in 10 years. I'm 51 now. I would like to last 10 more years without promoting because I don't want to do desk work.
Yeah. That's how a lot of people are. They're like, I want the pay raise, but I don't want to do the desk work. Put me where I belong.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in the best position in the department, I believe. I'm a senior captain. I'm on a ladder truck. But the day-to-day up, how familiar are you with the structure of the fire service, at least in the Houston area?
To a small degree.
Okay, so like Houston, we're divisionally separated into suppression. EMS is kind of a subset of suppression. Mm-hmm. They have their own chain of command, but they work so closely together because every member is a member of both divisions. But scheduling and staffing and personnel kind of gets a little bit separated because you have different certifications. But then you have your arson investigations, your inspections, and your communications. And then you have specialty divisions within suppression, your hazmat, your rescue. I'm in suppression, which is the single largest part of the department. That's what everyone thinks of when they think of firefighters.
Okay.
You start off as a cadet at the academy. You're going to be in the academy for somewhere between 8 weeks and 8 months, depending on prior certification, not necessarily prior experience. You could go down to Fire Academy online and EMT online and get your certifications, and you will be hired as an experienced firefighter. There's good and bad to that. On the one hand, it allows you to get people in the field quickly, but on the other hand, it's questionable training. You got a military background, you know that just because you have a certification doesn't mean you know shit.
I can't be taught how to shoot a gun and how to maneuver under indirect fire from YouTube videos. I mean,
exactly.
All right, you watched it. Now let's see you put it into practice.
Yeah, for training, a YouTube video can be a valuable tool, but it does not replace time in the field. It does not replace time under pressure and time create soldiers. They create firefighters. They create police officers. They create EMTs. You have to have that.
And they also weed out the much stronger or more resilient ones and the ones that can actually be put in those leadership roles.
Yes. I wish Houston was better at that. We don't have a leadership development program. You promote, and here's your badge. You're responsible.
What the fuck do I do now?
There you go. That happens a lot. I'm not going to name names on this but we had an individual who made captain, and he got his first company by himself. I'll get back to the structure in just a second. This is he gets in there and he says, you guys, I'm God in the station. You report to me, and you will, I will tell you when you will go to sleep, where you're allowed to sleep. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff, and you're going to sign off agreeing to this. So of course, somebody took a picture and put it out, started texting it out, and all hell broke loose. That's not leadership. It's not even management. That's tyranny. That's a boss. My goal as a leader is to inspire people to do their job the right way without having to micromanage them.
Well, you don't even have to lead through like anger and just power tripping. Just if you can't have your people respect you who are under you, then you're not a leader. You're not going to get anything from them, and they're not going to trust you, and you're not going to trust them.
Well, it's one of the things I look at is where, in the U.S. military, where are your crude weapon systems? In the front, usually.
Mm-hmm.
You know where they are in the Russian military?
In the middle?
No, usually
Back.
in the back. Because if you turn and run, they can gun you down.
Oh, yeah.
They run by fear.
Yeah, because they did that in the World War II war.
And they still do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they still do that. They have not learned that when you inspire people, it doesn't necessarily mean that as the officer you have to be the first one through the door. But it means you need to, if you're a company officer, you need to be with that company.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be willing to say, I will never ask you to do something I wouldn't do myself. But anyway, that was an interesting tangent.
No,
so you after a 12-month probationary period, after the academy, you become a probationary firefighter. Mm-hmm. That probation period starts the day you enter the academy. Currently, it's a 12-month probationary period. When I was in, it was an 18-month probationary period. They were more stringent back then. They were less desperate.
Yeah.
But after that, you become a first-year firefighter. Once you have 2 years as a firefighter, you become eligible to promote. Next step up is engineer operator. Typically what happens is you then become an ambulance driver. You get a significant raise and you get demoted. The joke is one day if you were good, you can come back to the fire service. Ambulance, your ambulance time in your career is where marriages are broken. It nearly killed mine.
Is it just because like time or?
Have you ever heard of compassion fatigue?
Yeah, I would imagine what it means.
Right. It's something you'll typically see in ERs. You'll see in high stress nursing. You see in EMTs and paramedics as you go to work and you have to care for people that you don't know. And you spend 24 hours, 12 hours, whatever your shift is, caring for people you don't know. And then you come home and it's hard to care. It's hard. You have a harder time connecting because you've burned all your compassion. Some people deal with it better than others. But it's one of the things that leads to PTSD.
Well, let alone those people who care so hard for somebody and you spend half your shift caring for them and they end up dying or something. And
yeah,
I can imagine that kind of makes it worse because after so long, you're just going to put up a wall and be like, I don't want to deal with that. You've kind of numbed out your emotions.
Yeah, and that is exactly it. I can look back in my career and remember. I don't remember many of the elderly people dying. I can't tell you how many deaths I've gotten time of death on. I can remember some of the most recent ones, but the ones I remember are the infants, the neonates, the newborns, the kids, the ones who never had a chance at life. They never had a chance to succeed, to fail. But when a 102-year-old passes away, I go, well, they lived to a ripe old age. I wish they would have had a DNR in place so we didn't have to do CPR on them for 4 hours or 2 hours trying to save somebody who can't be saved.
Have that rationalization to it.
Yeah. It was a sobering moment writing my stuff up. I guess about 10 years ago, my wife and I finally got serious and wrote out wills, wrote out advance directives. I've been to 11 funerals in my time. I've missed many more because at a point I had to stop going. The first funeral I went to was the Harlow and Hobbs fire. I was in EMT school at the academy. Harlow and Hobbs were the captain and a rookie from a class right before mine. It was right around Easter, April. I can't remember the exact date. April of 2009. They were first due at a house fire right near the station. We had heavy winds that day. What they didn't know is the upwind side of the house had a glass wall for the living room, and they had a steep drop off. And typically what we're supposed to do is do a 360. The first-in officer is supposed to go around unless there's an immediate, we have to rescue somebody, or we had they weren't able to do that, so they went through the front door. Houston's a big city for vertical ventilation, meaning if it's burning in here, we're going to get on the roof and cut a hole to vent everything and let it operate as a chimney because it raises it improves everything.
Yeah,
survivability for victims, working conditions for firefighters. They went to the roof, they cut a hole, and right about the same time they cut a hole, that glass wall collapsed. So now you have a huge open area catching wind with a fire inside, and then you have two outlets, the front door and the hole in the roof. So they had a blowtorch effect in the hallway, and they were in that hallway. They got out of the way, but they still passed. So the first big event I can remember in the fire department was carrying caskets. The last one I went to was my friend Ken Stavanoa. He is a really good guy, a new firefighter. He started late. He was built like me, except for probably 4 inches taller and 40 pounds heavier and slightly leaner. I remember one day training with him. We're doing a down firefighter drill where we put a fully geared up guy on the ground with his air pack alarm going off at some point. You got to follow a hose line and figure out and your mask is blacked out. You have paper towel stuffed inside of it, so you're blind. You're doing everything by touch and hear. And when you're wearing gloves, you can't really touch. Ken being about 6'7", he got on that line, searched for a while, figured it out, had his toe on the line. And usually what happens is you're not tall enough to get off. You have to get off the line. He had his toe in the line, reached out with 2 fingers, snagged this guy by a harness, dragged him across the floor with 2 fingers. Our gear is about 65 pounds, air pack and everything. And he was about a 200-pound firefighter. Drags him across the floor. And we're all sitting there going, well, that didn't work out how we hoped. But he's also the same guy who, when we're doing some training and some fires, we're pulling ceiling. A lot of times you want to open up the space between above your ceiling where there's fire hidden. And shiplap is wood is tongue and groove wood.
Yeah.
So usually we need to use a very heavy pike pole to break holes in it. So he'd break a hole in it and reach up and just pull it down. But he was a guy who wanted to work. I had just promoted, and he on Fridays we do the lawn. Well, Friday had been busy; it was a Saturday, and he says, "Captain, I'm bored. Can I go mow the lawn since I couldn't do it yesterday?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And he went out and mowed the lawn, and nobody heard from him for an hour and a half, and they found him dead in between the buildings.
Oh, shit.
Turns out he had he had a heart blockage, a widowmaker. Nobody knew. Nobody did stress tested EKGs on the way in to the department. We don't even do psych exams. There's no, are you psychologically fit for this?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I know at times, depending on recruiting, I've seen standards change, but not doing it at all. But anyway, he was a guy who was, that was the last, he was just a good guy. He and I had a shared background in working on cars. He was apparently a very active member of the Super Club in Houston and built cars. And we both had a fascination for traditional, historical North European axis.
Oh, wow.
I have a strong, I did that 23andMe, and you won't find somebody who's less white than me. I'm like pure Northwest European. And, I find it fascinating to look at how families move, how names travel, how cultures change. And he had a really cool collection of traditionally manufactured North European, Swedish, and Norwegian axes and hatchets. And he helped me pick one for myself for a trail axe for when I go camping. Needed something that could be functional but still light enough I can throw in a backpack if I'm going in for 3 or 4 days with just what I can carry.
Yeah.
You don't want a 36-inch axe on that, but you don't need something this big that's worthless. But that was the last funeral I went to, and after that I couldn't go to any more. That was the most personal of them. I knew some of the other guys. I was at the Southwest End fire where it was a 5/11 fire, and we lost 4 firefighters at that. It's I know it's a part of the job. I know loss is a part of it, but I also recognize in myself that it's not helping me anymore. And there are younger and other people who are more resilient in this area who will be there. Mm-hmm. If a funeral occurs on our day at work, I will always make sure that we have coverage for guys who want to go to it. If they're, and I will always encourage, if we're not on shift, to go cover for those positions so that others can go. Thankfully, we've gone through a quiet period since COVID subsided. We haven't lost many more. Yeah. At least not with active incidents. I consider the COVID thing to be an active incident because the amount of exposure we got. I think I had it 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And what sucks on top of that is I already have health problems related to breathing from the job.
So, it's not going to make it any better.
No. Prior to COVID, I had an albuterol inhaler for as needed for chemical exposures at a fire in 2014. Now I have the albuterol inhaler. I have a nasal spray. I have a twice daily inhaler.
Oh, wow.
And I have a pulmonologist.
Just a few health problems.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a part of the job. In the past 3 years, the department finally started paying for full scans. They do. Basically, it's a National Fire Protection Association mandated physical. If you go into your annual physical and tell them, I'd like to have a stress tested EKG and this, the insurance is going to go, why? What symptoms are you having that you need that? It's like, well, I'm not having any symptoms, and that's the point. I need to know what baseline is. I need to know what healthy is. But the department started doing that, measuring VO2 max, strength, flexibility, and then they do a full ultrasound of every major organ in your body and many minor ones. So first time they do it, they put me on there, they get my EKG, they got me all hooked up on the treadmill. Nurse looks at it, I guess, I'm sorry, you can't do this. I go, what do you mean? She goes, you have heart problems. Oh. I go, what do you mean? She goes, you have a very obvious left bundle branch block and you're throwing PVCs. And I'm like, I know what those mean. I'm not a paramedic, but I know the language now.
Yeah.
And she goes, so you can't do this. I said, no, I absolutely have to do this. You don't understand. I said, I'm in a medical facility right now. If I go down on the roof or inside doing a search in a burning building because I don't know what's wrong with me. So they let me do it. My EKG looks like shit. But apparently I have well exceeding the VO2 max required for the job. And my heart rate goes up and the EKG looks like shit. My heart rate goes down really quickly and the EKG still looks like shit.
At least you got a baseline now. And
yeah,
like you were saying, that's more important. You're in a medical facility. If you drop right then and there, you're going to be covered. You drop out in the field.
Who knows?
And it's something that it could have been prevented in a way.
Yeah. And, it brings back a memory. When I was in the academy, we're doing firefighter rescue drills. And my squad leader was a guy named Chris Higgins. He drives an engine out, I think in Greenspoint area. Prior Army, quiet guy. I never really said anything to him. I just did what he said. And we're doing this down firefighter drill. And it's one where you basically, you strap yourself to him and you're crawling with them dragging underneath you. And we get about halfway through and he gets right down on my face. He goes, you a heavy motherfucker. And, we didn't realize at the time, but, I'm 225. Add 65 pounds of gear. If I'm carrying tools and my pockets are full of stuff.
Easily over 300.
Easily. And I'm in the middle of the road. One of my firefighters who recently went to the airport, he was probably 260 naked. A couple of years ago, we actually had a fire and helicopter was right over us the whole time. So we got a video that's almost training quality. So we go up on the roof, and my one firefighter he's cutting holes with a saw and he's making it look like an art form. He's just one-handing that chainsaw, cutting perfectly straight lines. And my big guy comes up He steps off. So on this particular fire, it was a 2-story building. We had to carry in a ground ladder, throw it in, climb the ladder, and the fire had started and a chimney flue and come up and ran the attic.
Okay.
So when I get up there, I get the thermal camera, and I can see this big burnt V that you can't visibly see. So I step off the ladder, I hang a left and go around it. Sawman comes up, hangs a left, and goes around it. Several minutes later, my last guy comes up, and he walks straight up the roof, steps up, his feet go through the roof.
Oh.
He looks at us, he looks at that, he starts to turn, his next foot goes to the roof. He looks at us again, and he goes back to the end of the ladder. Afterwards, like, Captain, I'm so sorry. I'm like, don't be. I said, I saw the video. He goes, we have video? I said, we're on the news. He goes, seriously? I said, yeah. I said, I'm not upset at all. He goes, well, why not? I said, because you're not a young, stupid firefighter. I said, you realized that you were in a dangerous situation, and you saw that we had it under control, and you stopped where you were, and you retreated from the dangerous situation. I said, what you didn't see is we had hung a hard left to go around that soft spot. So I'll get up there. I tell these guys, I'm always first on, last off. I have the thermal imaging camera. I won't say I have necessarily the experience, because some of these firefighters have never promoted, have more time in than me.
Yeah.
But I mean, how far did you promote in the military?
E5, sergeant.
E5? So sometimes you knew you had guys in there who had more time in than you did, more experience in the field.
Oh, yeah.
And you knew that, they knew their jobs.
Oh, yeah.
And you knew that you could count on them. And then you had a guy right next to him who's the same rank, who will walk into into a free fire zone. Hey guys, I'm here to help.
Most lieutenants or second lieutenants are like that.
Yeah.
That's how we classify it.
Hey, at least it's not like Vietnam where those guys went down too often and nobody knew what happened.
Yeah, that's not allowed anymore.
No.
Well, we used to laugh about it because we'd had these lieutenants that, when you're in the field, you're not supposed to salute. And they would demand it. I just came out of the academy. You're going to salute me. I don't care. Well, we get to Iraq, and we had this one. I'm not going to say his name. I couldn't stand the son bitch, but always wanted us to salute him. So it finally came to a point where we would, and we'd like sniper check. Because they're not going to shoot us.
No, they're going to shoot the guy you're saluting at.
It's like, we do this in World War II, so why are you wanting to do it now? Did you not learn anything from the academy?
Yeah.
Those college degrees.
Yeah. And that's finding somebody who can bring knowledge and experience together is very valuable. I've had to... So where I work, there's a wide variety of education.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a master's degree in public administration and emergency management. I did that because we had so many threats of layoffs that once you're past 35, the odds of getting a job as a firefighter are very small because there's so few departments that can legally hire over that age. But I didn't have enough time to go in and be a fire chief anywhere, because in the fire service, you have two ways in most civil service type departments: rookie or fire chief. It's rarely anything in between. And that's how civil service works. So I went ahead and went back to school, and it took me 13 years to get my bachelor's degree in 3 different attempts.
Hey, as long as you went and got it, though, that's the bigger thing.
But the thing is that I've always come in with the attitude that my education doesn't make me better than anyone, but it helps me think my way through things that others would struggle with. I tell when we get new rookies, it's like it's not that I don't care what you bring with you. It's that I have certain expectations of you, and I don't want to hear, well, we did it this way, or I learned this, I learned that. I said, I'm teaching you the way we do it here so that you have a baseline so that you can go anywhere in the department and function. I said, once you're past that, bring your ideas. Tell me about different things. Let's learn that. I go, but we have certain skills we have to create, certain behaviors we have to create in a manner that all future officers can have that expectation.
Because you guys don't have like a universal standard operating procedures between the departments. I mean, it's just this station does it this way.
So with Houston, the goal is to try, for example, hose loads. How you load a hose can change a lot depending on what you're using it for. Houston has 2 standard hose loads: the flat load and what we call speed load. A flat load is literally you just zigzag that hose line. It's easy to load. But if you're going to deploy it, you either have to pull a lot of it out or you have to pull the whole pile out. And we do have it set up so you can pull the pile out. But if you mishandle that pile, it becomes a tangled mess.
And that takes more time to...
Yes, you have to spend time going back and untangling it. And when fire is burning...
You don't got time.
No, you don't. Time is compressed. Your senses are changed. Your focuses are changed. You won't hear explosions going on around you because you're focused on what you're doing. And then the other one we use is a speed load. We use those for initial attack lines. Basically, you take that hose line out, you stretch it, and you make a triple stack. So then when you pull it off, you just grab the top couple of layers and you run with it, and it almost self-deploys. It takes longer to reload, but it deploys very quickly. I mean, those are our two standard loads. But then you have the Minuteman, the modified Minuteman, the Combat, the Cobra, the Cleveland, the da-da-da. They're all good loads. But can you imagine being in a battalion where each company carried a different variant of rifle or a different rifle altogether? It would be
do nothing.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Your unit has M4s. Well, these guys like the old M16s. They want the A1s too because they want to do mag dumps with thoughtlessly.
I mean, at least most of our ammo is universal between the weapons. But could you? I mean,
well, look at what they're doing now with the new ammos. It's like the Army wants to go this way, the Marines want to go this way, and then they're abandoning stuff 2 years after saying they're adopting it. It's chaos. Fortunately, that your base ammo has only gotten better over time. If you look at a Vietnam era 5.56 load compared to a modern 5.56 load, 55 grain full metal jacket versus you're seeing a lot more of this 68 to 77 grain. Heavy and long, much more efficient, much more wind resistant.
They just need to fix the weapon itself. So, because I mean, M16s and M4s, they're notorious for not shooting and jamming up when just the smallest amount of dirt.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting concept using a rifle that was developed in the 50s. On the side, I build ARs.
But look at the Kalashnikov. I mean, that's been around forever, and that's one of the more...
It's incredibly robust. Well, look at the FAL pattern rifles. That's another one that is incredibly durable. It's an interesting concept. I have an AK that I love shooting. I have an FAL I picked up recently that is really enjoyable to shoot. I can't tell you how many ARs because I build them. If it doesn't meet my expectations, somewhere down the road I trade it and sell it and build another one. I actually went to the Sons of Liberty Gunworks armorers class.
Oh wow!
And that was really cool. First thing they told you is you are not a gunsmith. We are not teaching you to be a gunsmith. Some of the guys, well, what's the difference? Because a gunsmith can take a block of wood and make a stock. A gunsmith can machine a piece of metal, can weld up and repair a receiver. Because you're going to learn how to diagnose working systems and change parts. And their big thing was reliability above everything else. It doesn't matter if it's less accurate, because if it doesn't shoot, it doesn't matter how accurate it is.
Yeah.
That was one of the things they hammered into us is if you can't field strip and clean it, more oil. Lots more oil. Not enough oil. Keep adding oil. It doesn't matter if it's spraying oil everywhere you shoot. It's more likely to keep shooting. And then they showed us an old video, Fairchild, I think. I'm trying to remember. It was an old aircraft company, and they were the first ones to manufacture the 308. Dude's walking out. He's up to his neck in the ocean. He's walking out with a 308 belt-fed AR pattern rifle, walking out there, just letting it rip,
Rambo style.
but he started underwater. Then he drops it in the sand, gives it a shake. It's all wet and covered in sand, and lets it rip. I'm like, why didn't they build that? Robust. Yeah, exactly. Bean counters. And I say the same thing in the fire service. I've come to the conclusion what I see is the same thing in everywhere in government. Is you and I can sit here and come up with a great idea. It's field tested. We know what needs to be done, but it's not the cheapest.
Our equipment is built by the lowest bidder.
Bingo.
But yet they still decide to order, like, I mean, we get sandpaper, toilet paper. But yet some commander can have his 12 bags of coffee for deployment or his nice comfy leather chair.
Right.
It's like, give me some actual Charmin or something,
right?
man.
I mean, like, at least the Walmart knockoff of Charmin.
I'll even use their paper towels. I mean, they're gritty, but not rip my ass cheeks off.
Right? Oh man, it's funny. So the guy who directly reports to me, he's he's a retired Air Force medic. We mess with him constantly. He's a great guy. He's done, I can't tell you how many deployments he's done. Mostly what he did on combat deployments was transport injured Army, whoever, soldiers on the ground from the Middle East back to the trauma centers, back to the trauma hospitals. Great guy. But we mess with him all the time because we've had a couple of Marines, who are on our crew. One guy, he goes, man, I had the best career in the Marines and the worst career in the Marines. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I was active duty between like 96 and 2000. He goes, on the one hand, I missed all the good stuff. And he goes, on the other hand, hell yeah, I missed all the good stuff. He goes, I have less health issues. I have less mental health issues. He goes, I'm proud of my service. I was a regular Marine. He goes, and then there's another guy in another shift who was a Marines reservist who did several combat deployments, and they mess with him all the time. Going, you're not a real Marine. You're just a reservist.
But I mean, at least he deployed. I mean,
yeah,
that's not like he got kicked out and dishonorably.
Oh no,
yeah,
no. I mean, it's. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, messing with each other is even more so in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big differences I see between fire, police, military, you have a much huger command structure. You have a much more robust set of rules and laws that are supposed to be followed, and how well they're followed depends on your chain of command. Even if you deploy, you may not necessarily be a combat soldier. A lot of your individual decision making is, especially at the lower ranks, you do what you're told. You do what you're trained to do. And there's in that, in some ways, to me, that can help insulate your, the mental issues that can come from being in combat, from seeing your friends killed. Mm-hmm. Is we're doing what is morally right. It is backed up by my chain of command, and it doesn't change anything that was still your buddy that got shot in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my good friends in the department, he fought in the Battle of Fallujah. He said they got so complacent they started taking out their ballistic plates. He was a door kicker. He was man on the ground. Mm-hmm. And he said one day they snacked up at a door, point man kicked in the door, dude standing there with a shotgun on the other side, shoots him in the chest point blank. Mm-hmm. That Marine goes down, and the rest of them were just stunned.
Yeah.
Completely frozen, because they'd done this for 10, 12 days in a row without anything happening. The guy starts cheering and it lays into a prayer. That first man sits up and mows him down. Mm. He was the only man in the unit who had the chest plate left. He said quietly that night, everyone's over there putting chest plates, back plates, if their family had sent them side plates.
Well, because I mean, even that's what happened in Black Hawk Down. People got so complacent that they're not going to do much. Just stick our back plates out, drop out that extra 25 pounds.
Yes.
No.
It's what that creates is called a culture of deviance. You go out and patrol today. You don't put your plates in. Nothing happens.
You're going to think next time you're fine too.
Next time you're fine, and that is a problem. It's more so in high stress, high risk environments. We joke around with the rookies now is when I first came in the department, you pull up your first in engine on the house fire. We got one, boys. We're making a fast attack. What does that tell you?
That you're enjoying.
Pretty much. You know something's going on. You don't know what. Now we pull up on location. Ladder 38's on location. We got a small house. We have heavy fire showing from the Charlie division. We got a hydrant in the front yard, engine 38. When you make location, We're going to need you to advance the line through the front door for fire attack. Ladder 38 is going to be coming in behind you to do a primary search and search for extension. Folks, this is a working offensive fire. Now, when you're 6 blocks away, you know that we have a standardized small house, which means one of our pre-connected lines can go all the way to, can cover the entire structure. We have fire on the back side of the house with heavy fire conditions. It's not yet that we need to ventilate it. We have water supply established. So a lot of times, when I was engine captain, we pulled up on one. It came in as an apartment fire. We were second due pumper, but we were closer because we were on another call.
Mm-hmm.
I look over my shoulder. I go, man, it's right there and it's burning. So we come around the corner and I'm engine 10's on location. We got, large apartment structure. We have fire showing on the Bravo division. Engine 10's going to be deploying a handline for fire attack. Engine 60, when you make location, I need you to catch a hydrant, lay into engine 10. Engine 69, when you arrive on location, I need you to pull a secondary line, go around to the Bravo Delta division, and make entry and search for extension. So we went back and it was a man cave garage that had caught on fire. Inside, it was one of those attached. It had ignited, flashed over where everything was burning, burned through the garage door, and was running the wall and trying to get into the attic of a 2-story apartment that had a common attic. Once it's in the attic, you have 150 yards of open burn. So we get that hand line on it. Chief shows up. Chief goes, "Hey, what do we got?" And I said, "I got engine 10 on fire attack, engine 69 obtaining a water supply." Right then, engine 60 comes up and goes, "Hey, man, we're ready for reassignment." I said, "Go in with engine 69." So we got engine 60 and engine 69 searching for extension and providing a primary search. We have water supply established. Chief's response, "Well, okay." We went in there. I was on holdover on overtime, meaning I'd worked a 24-hour shift on scheduled overtime and stayed for an additional 24 for a total of a 48-hour shift to cover for a guy who was sick. And I had his rookie who had never made a fire yet. So we get there and he's hitting it from the garage door. I'm like, "What are you doing?" "Advance. Go until you run out of fire, you run out of house, you run out of water." We're all the way to the back wall, worked our way back around, and we got there in time. The drywall had come off. The structure was starting to burn. We kept it out of the attic. It turns out the guy's car had caught on fire inside the garage. And when I say man cave, it was heavily furnished.
Oh, wow.
It was a lot of stuff to burn. In the grand scheme of things, it was a great first fire for this kid. It allowed him to build confidence without having the world fall on him.
Good lesson, not that chaotic. And
it's a commonality across all fields.
Yeah.
So I was saying with the military, you have that kind of the structured protection. Obviously, afterwards, your ability to deal with it as hit or miss, depending on the VA and your personal care.
Yeah.
But in law enforcement, it's rare that they pull up on a crime in progress. It happens, but it's a small percentage of it. A lot of times they're coming afterwards. They're investigating, and this is not to belittle what they do.
Yeah.
But typically they come there after your house has been broken into, after somebody jacked you at gunpoint and left, after somebody stole your car,
After someone slammed into you.
Exactly. They're and they have an important role as far as documenting. But when fire and EMS, every call we have to do something, and people are looking at us for every call. We handle such a wide variety of things that, So military goes out of deployment. Typically, pretty well in advance. It's been planned for months.
For a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, typically. Now, there's sometimes surprises, but you're always, certain units are always trained in a high state of readiness.
Oh, yeah.
Your rapid deployment teams, your special forces, there's certain units that are always kind of on a ready to go basis. But the vast majority of the time, it's looking like it's going to come. We got a mission coming up. We're going to start training for it.
We have a little bit of time.
Right. Police, we already know that most of the time they're getting there after the fact. It could be right after the fact. It's awesome when they get there
At the time.
Oh my God. That's when you get to do the superhero shit that you signed up to do. When we get there, the house is burning. You're bleeding. Your heart's not beating. You're breathing. You're trapped in a car. and we're expected to fix everything really, really fast. And it's a different kind of stress. It's a different kind of pressure. Some guys thrive in it. Some guys survive in it, and some guys
crumble.
Yes, and I've worked with some. They're good people. They chose the wrong career.
And that's going to be with any job profession. 'Cause, I mean, I've had people say, they're in the military and stuff, and you're like, you're a great person. You just suck as a soldier.
Yes. Yes.
And that's just how it is. I mean, there are some great cops out there that, thank God they chose that career. Same with firefighters and EMTs,
Yes.
some doctors. But then there's a lot of people in those fields. You're like,
why are you here?
Really want this job?
Yeah. Are you here for the T-shirt? Are you here for the badges? You're here for the medals? Are you here?
Do you want that 10% discount at Lowe's?
Yeah. Oh, that's always a awkward. For me, it's like on the one hand, if they offer it, I would like it, but on the other hand, I feel really weird about asking for it.
Mm-hmm. See, I've never was one of those people that likes going in there. Do you have 10% discount? Do you have a discount?
Yeah.
I mean,
if they put it on their website and I can quietly sign up for it, I will. But it feels so weird.
It's awkward. It's almost like you're asking for that appreciation. I mean,
yeah.
I went to Jack in the Box once, real late night, went to go pay, and the girl saw my debit card, USAA. She's like, "Are you military?" I was like, "Veteran." She's like, "Oh, we got a discount." I was like, "Shit, I didn't even know."
Thank you.
I wasn't going to ask, but
right.
thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the funniest discount related incidents. We were in line at a McDonald's, I believe, and there was I was a firefighter at the time. We had, and meal times in the fire service are very important. Mm-hmm. We cook in the station. We all sit down and we try to eat together.
It's a family thing.
Yes, it is very, very family. It's so because of a working fire, we were backed in to cover another territory. We didn't eat, so we went to McDonald's, and there was a group of police officers up a couple of spots in front of them. Oh, say this, it's this much with your discount. So we go up there, we get in line, and it's full price.
Bastards.
And we didn't say anything, but the officer was a little bit outspoken. He goes, "Excuse me, I'm just curious. What differentiates?" Mm-hmm. And the clerk gets very flustered, calls the manager out. The manager goes, "Well, it's a law enforcement discount." He goes, "But as a one-time favor, we'll extend it to you." That officer looked at him and he goes, "You know what? I want to tell you something. Mm-hmm. It was a McDonald's. This McDonald's is burning its ass down, and you're laying in the kitchen praying for help, thinking this is your end. Firefighter's going to come in and rescue you, and you know what those cops are going to be doing outside? Directing traffic." Mm-hmm. He goes, "Come on, guys, let's go somewhere else." I thought it was a little bit unnecessarily harsh. But man, you want to talk about emotionally gratifying.
It's a great reality check. You're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, I work closely with police officers. My wife is a former police officer. Yeah. I have a huge amount of respect for it, especially the ones who are good at it. I do like messing with them.
Of course.
They do like messing with us, especially at one point, I worked out in the North Shore area over off of Federal and I-10. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what I was getting into out there. I didn't realize how hectic it was. And after talking to some officers out there, they said, 10 years out here is worth a career someplace else. But we used to have this guy out there, HPD guy, veteran. And we had quite a few throwdowns with people, particularly if they're on meth or bath salts or something like that. But I remember one particular one, we get a call of a naked man on the freeway. First thing we're thinking is PCP because it gets a little bit hot.
Those kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. But we're coming down the road. We always send two apparatus on freeway calls, one to handle the call, one to do it as blocking. So we're going to put $1 million piece of equipment out there for cars to drive into. Well played, my friend. Well played. Next thing, there's a damn near naked guy running in the middle of Federal Road straight at us. We're slamming on the brakes, and it's hard to stop a 40,000. Yeah. You've been a deuce and a half or something.
Weight.
Yeah. Now let's go ahead and add a 500-gallon tank of water to it.
That sloshes around.
Yes. So we just barely missed running over this guy because he kept running in front of us. He runs around to my side, throws the door open, and tries to climb in with me. I push him out, and he grabs me and tries to throw me out. and he's screaming all incomprehensible stuff between Spanish and English, mostly Spanish. So at this point, I'm not going to let him take control of the situation. So as he grabs me, instead of letting him pull me, I go ahead and jump out.
Mm-hmm.
I come underneath him, scoop him up under the waist, stand up with him, and he grabs onto the handles.
I will not go.
For dear life. The guy sitting behind me pries his fingers off. I go charging across, I got to get outside of the road because Federal Road's busy.
Oh, yeah.
And I hit the sidewalk and I start to stumble. I'm like, and once again, I got to do something before I lose control. So I go ahead and I body slam him on the concrete, go into a somersault, controlled pop up and jump back on him. He's stunned for a minute because I managed to land him flat enough to knock the wind out of him.
Yeah.
Even in his heightened state, that slowed him enough. Next couple guys jump in, and this officer was the first one to show up. Dives right in there. Second officer that shows up from about 10 feet away goes, "Hey guys, I got some handcuffs," and throws them. And I'm like, dude, you're the biggest man here. The only one bigger was the guy who drove the truck. He's a former prison guard. And he's built like it. He was about 6'5", about 300 pounds. Great guy. Calmest, most chill guy you ever know.
Until you piss him off, I bet.
I don't know. I've never pissed him off.
I don't.
Yeah, but he was in there. And so we get this guy under control, and I had some words with my crew about who got dirty. Why are the most senior members dirty and the most junior members not? Mm-hmm. I said that this isn't all for one for all. I said if one guy goes in, everyone goes in. I said, you know that. Yeah, but that one officer, he used to be a firefighter back in the early 90s. And I remember one day him asking me, "Hey, do you guys know a guy named so-and-so?" I'm like, I said, "I know that last name, but the only first name that goes with it is Chief." And he nearly falls down laughing. He goes, "They made that motherfucker a chief? That guy's crazy." I said, "He's been a chief since before I came in the department." He goes, "You got to be kidding." He goes, "Man, we used to run around the ambulance in Independence Heights back in the early 90s.
Oh, jeez.
He goes, I said, "So why'd you do this?" He goes, "At the time, it seemed like the right thing to do." But, he was to be one, among many of what I would call the greats of police officers I've worked with in Houston. I've worked with so many great individuals, and I've had a few that I would love to choke out, but you can't do that on the side of the freeway.
No, they kind of frown on that, especially when the news crews get the footage. I know.
It's being on the news is an interesting experience.
I bet.
One thing I've learned is if the news doesn't know what's going on, they'll make up a good story with it. It's not necessarily malicious. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, assume they're not telling the truth until you have evidence otherwise. It's, and of course, as soon as you're on the news, you start getting text messages and, "Is that you?" What was going on there?
Well,
yeah, I mean, my wife still gets a kick out of it. I know I was on yesterday, the day before, I was on the Houston Fire Department media page, standing there with giant walls of fire in the background. Functionally, we weren't doing really much of anything because the fire was too big and it was too far from water for us to put enough on it. We were probably putting at least through most of it, somewhere between 2,000 and 6,000 gallons per minute on it for 10 hours continuously. And
not even touching it. But at least they made y'all look good.
Yeah, and the biggest thing all we could do is try to keep the fire within the original burned area until the fuel burns out enough that the water can touch it. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is at the very early stages of a fire, we can stop it very quickly, sometimes with as little as 5 gallons of water. Late stages, though, a lot of times you have to sit back and let the fuel go, especially if you're dealing with something that's hazmat. Sometimes putting water on the fire is more damaging because all that runoff goes into it. Yesterday, I guess the day before, we were sitting there and some of the background of this company, and I just said, "I hope this guy ends up in prison." And he goes, "Yeah, man, look what he all exposed us to." I said, "Not just us." I said, "Every neighborhood around here."
Yeah.
I said, "All the environment." I said, "You could probably go down to the bayou in a year or two. You're going to be able to catch fish with 4 fillets." I said, 2 heads, maybe even 2 tails.
That 3-eyed Simpson fish.
Exactly. I was making jokes about it. I said, "Man, let's just let it burn. It'll be like the tire fire in The Simpsons. just that column in the background all the time.
The new Houston National Monument.
Yeah. Houston, as I'm proud of my service, but I get to see a side of government that a lot of people just don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I see how limited government actually is. I don't believe in conspiracy theories that affect all of government. I believe in conspiracies that are small sections of government.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a couple of individuals in one area who are striving for certain things, but the problem is next department over's got a whole different idea.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard the term root pig or die?
Maybe.
There's variants on it, but that was the original, and that was about politics. Is ultimately government politics is deciding who gets what.
Mm-hmm.
That is the political process. We've put parties and individuals in charge of that, but that's a process of who gets what. And if you don't root into that process, you will die. If you don't fight for money, your department doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't matter how valuable or how important it is. If somebody else doesn't understand it and you don't stand up and fight for it, you don't get funded.
They're going to cut your funding, give it to somebody else who wanted to beg more.
Right. And it's awful. And, firefighters, well, we don't need to be political. No, we absolutely have to be political. It doesn't mean you have to be a political party, but you have to play the game of politics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guarantee you that the Marines and the Army are always battling it out about who should get the money for ground forces.
Mm-hmm.
And they each have a place. The way I see it is when the Navy says that's the most heavily fortified beach, we're going to send the Marines straight up the middle.
Let them have that money.
And the Army's going to go, well, looks like the supply lines are here. Let's go ahead and take out the logistical centers and just starve them out.
Mm-hmm. Marines have a tendency to want to go through the wall. We tend to try to go around or blow it up.
Yes, there's a place for both of that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have firefighters. Our newest rookie, he's a Marines artilleryman. Great kid. He's not quite big enough to go through a wall, but he'll run into it a few times at least.
Bounce off of it a little bit.
Yeah, but he has really stepped up. He's in his first year in, and I'm really proud that I get to be his officer. He has taken an incredible amount of responsibility. The station I was at when I first got there, our crew, the experience levels of our crew, we had a 20-year guy, a 16-year guy, a 14-year guy, a 10-year guy, and an 8-year guy. That's a lot of experience. And
a lot of years.
Yeah, at the time I was at 14 years. Well, the 20-year guy went to a station closer to home. He had worked in that, my station for most of his, I think, his whole career. He moved out closer. The next two guys went to airport rescue firefighting, and they went to the airports. They've earned it. Two guys promoted. Now we're left with one 10-year firefighter, a 1-year firefighter, a 6-month firefighter.
Kind of lost a lot of your years.
Yes, and so we've gone from training once every 3 or 4 days to training once or twice a day now. Mm-hmm. But we've been fortunate that we've been getting people who have heart. We were talking about earlier, some people aren't suited.
Yeah.
I can train, I can train you on the basics of doing everything, but I can't make you want to do the job. You mentioned earlier about, there are people who just aren't right for it. And to me, heart has a lot to do with that. Are they willing to overcome the discomfort, whether it's physical or psychological? And we've got a good group. Unfortunately, the next one, her plan is to become a medic. She had her first fire 4 days into the department. She started on Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was on vacation, of course, and my junior was on vacation. And I feel awful because I want them to, see who we are and set the standard. Fortunately, the officers who were there were other ones from the station who were good. So day 4, I got the former Marine rookie on the ladder truck with me. Mm-hmm. House fire. We heard a report from Chief Incident Command. It was the incident commander that we got a working fire conditions. We head off. Engine 5 was the first in. They made entry. They had heavy fire conditions. Before we made location, Chief was already telling us, I need you to cut a hole. Mm-hmm. And so my Marine rookie, he got a chance to get up on the roof and cut it open. And somebody actually got some good pictures. Oh. I wish they would have gotten the one. I completely missed it, but apparently, because apparently when we first opened up that hole, we had a big blast of fire come out, but I was doing everything at once. So engine 5 was in, our engine company went in to search for extension, open up ceilings. And apparently what happened is they came around and it went from clear conditions to you can't see this.
Oh, wow.
In about 10 seconds. It just completely dropped to the floor. And then we cut that hole, punched it out, and then it opened right back up. Well, that 30 seconds to 1 minute they were in there in complete blackout conditions and heavy, heavy heat turned their mustard yellow bunker gear black. The guy on the nozzle, that captain, he comes out. He goes, "Have they cut a hole yet?" Like, yeah, it's clear in there. His entire mask was blacked out from particulate buildup on it. Wow. But the coolest thing, though, is so here she is, 4th shift out of the academy, sitting there sweating in the front yard. And our incident commander, our chief, knows he's got 3 rookies. These are really their first really good fires. So he's checking in with all of them. He asked her, he goes, "How was it?" She goes, "Well, that was a good little fire." And then she catches herself because somebody tells her, "Well, I mean," then he was like, "No, you're right."
Yeah.
I said, we couldn't save everything, but we saved as much as we could. And it was a good, really good experience. And we've already told her, if you change your mind about the medic thing, we want you back here.
I mean, that's one hell of a trial by fire. Literally.
Literally, yes. For that first fire is really important. The average, I think when I first came into the fire service, the average firefighter made one working fire every 2 years. That's across volunteer and government fire agencies. You got to remember is the vast majority of firefighters in the nation are volunteers. That's changing pretty heavily because commute times and working not working where you live. Yeah. And it makes it very hard to say, "Hey, I just got paged. We got a fire down at the hardware store." No, you're down in Houston and you live out here. You can't do anything. And I don't keep logs. I keep rough counts, and sometimes I check back on department statistics. As best I know, I've been in for right about 17 years, and in August it'll be 17 on the street. I've gone through some stretches where I haven't made any, but as best I can tell, I've had somewhere between 100 and 150 working fires in that time. Monday we had 2, and that's not something that happens as much anymore. Yeah. First one was a high-rise 5th floor condominium fire in an 18th floor building. And then we get cleaned up from that one and get called, and here's the great part. So that's the recycling company fire. We looked at it and we said, I think we should be on this. But it was 2 different, so they're sending 2 ladder trucks. Your average typical first response is 2 ladder trucks, 4 pumpers, 2 chiefs, a safety officer, and an EMS unit. It's pretty substantial. We can turn people around if we don't need them. Yeah. But we saw the size of the smoke column. I saw his recycling company. So we just went down there, showed up on location and said, "Hey, Chief, we're on if you need us." "Yeah, come in, get set up." Then I go over, I said, "By the way, you need to add us to this incident so we don't get dispatched to something else." She gives me this look. I said, "They told me that's how the previous captain did. And he's a legend. He's appeared in international news releases on rescues. I've seen a bunch of, informal video taken. And when I was on vacation recently, he actually came out and worked at my station, and my crew spoke highly of him. Here he is, 3 weeks out from retirement, and he's still getting dirty on the floor training rookies." Oh yeah. I mean, that's admirable. Those are that
lead from the top.
Leadership. It's not management. It's not being a boss. I said I can be all that. So, but I shouldn't have to tell you what to do every day. But yeah, so we drove down there and added ourselves to it and spent the next 10 hours. Yeah.
I mean, if they need the help, they need the help. Yeah. And I was going to say, it's actually really good to hear someone in your position actually praising the new recruits and the new incomers, because you don't really hear that too much from leadership. They may brag, but they'll brag quietly or behind the back or whatnot. But
no, in the time I've come in, I've seen. When I first came in, we had much higher standards. Most of our recruits were high quality. They pushed us hard in the academy. I came in January and graduated in August. So we do EMT school first because that's where most of us get pushed out. If you go to community college, it's a 1-year program, 1.5-year program, depending on how you take it, and you have to maintain a 70% average to pass. Fire department pays you hourly for it, so you got to maintain an 80% average, and you do it in 3 months. It's not super hard, but when you take something that's moderately difficult and squeeze it.
And, you were talking about the other episode we did with Sergio. He was saying the same exact thing. It's great, but that's all condensed and it's all compressed. And now you're even more stressed while trying to learn all this shit.
Yes, and you have to maintain a higher standard. So I think my class, we lost 14 during that process. But, our daily workout regimens were tough. Actually, when I was at the academy, we had a recruit die. Apparently, he came in somewhat dehydrated, and he was a guy who was in great shape to start with, but it was an 83-degree morning at 100% humidity. So you're from this area. When you sweat, it doesn't do anything. It's too humid for it. It's not hot enough, and it's too humid, so you just keep sweating and keep sweating and keep sweating. Now, they haven't had a serious injuries at the academy in many years, but what happened is when Mayor Turner came in, he turned on us immediately. Parker was not a friend of the fire department prior as well. I got my first notification of layoff at that point. I was 12 months in. You're going to be laid off. Don't worry, we'll hire back in the order that you got laid off in. Talk about sick politics, right? And that was just to pressure us. We voted down that contract. Near 93% against. The cops at that point said, man, I wish we had that kind of solidarity.
We could work together at times.
Right. But then hiring slacked off. And because of the political problems, the quality of hires declined greatly. And then, because when I took the civil service exam, it was between 12 and 1,400 people for 180 positions. And they did them every 2 years. They only did them once every 2 years. They now do them for a while. They're doing them once every 30 days. So we've, in between, we have a huge manpower and experience issue between 5 and 15 years. But in the past year and a half of rookies I've been getting, they have heart.
Yeah.
The first one we got was a young Salvadoran Mexican guy, just turned 21, came to us with a Class A CDL, was going to go drive a truck and decided last minute to try the fire department. Small, skinny guy. To test his heart, I'm the senior captain. I'm in the ladder truck. They always get put on the pumper first because number one job in fire service is get water to the fire. So I rode down on the pumper to be with him that day. And we set him up on a hose line and pumped way too much into it and way too short a line just to see what he would do. Man, that guy fought. It was beating his ass. But that hose line would slide back until the valve closed. He'd open it up and push it back out. And I let him fight with it for a good 15 minutes just to see when he would give up. And I finally said, that's enough. I said, you'll never fight fire like that again. I said, we pumped way too much on you on way too short a line just to see
how you would react.
And he didn't give up. And each rookie has been very good. The newest one is a little bit harder. He comes with this prior experience. He's older, and he's not a Western culture. He's Slavic. I get it a little bit more than most of my guys. Most of them have lived in nothing but Texas, and they're used to jovial, talkative, very expressive people. And Slavic cultures are not that. I messed with him once. I said, hey, man, I said, how come you guys don't smile and talk more often? He cracks a short smile and says, just tell me what to do. I'll take care of it.
I just want to do the job.
But for the hard thing with him is we're having to break 5-year habits. He's used to different hose loads and different tactics. And it's just a different approach. The fact is we have to make these guys feel like they belong as soon as possible. We can't shit on their heads and beat them down. We're not boot camp. We're not the academy. What we're trying to do is take them from a raw tool and put an edge on them to bring them up to speed on the actual tactics they're going to use. And make them feel valued, make them respect us, or I would say but teach them to respect us by respecting them. Because if you're my rookie and you hate my guts,
he ain't going to listen.
Not only is that, what if I'm the one who goes down in the fire? Do I want that guy going, motherfucker? Or do they want a guy going, oh shit, my captain's down?
Yeah.
And that's what I told him right off. I said, you said you belong. You have a steep slope to climb right now. You have a lot of standards you have to meet. You're going to be treated impartially on that, but we want you to know that we got your back, and we expect the same from you.
Well, it's like those departments and stuff when they get the new member in, they just want to haze and make their life a living hell. It's like, dude, all you're going to do is make the dude hate the job, make the dude hate you, and make them not want to try.
Well, I will tell you, I hated my first crew. I absolutely hated them. One of the members, he was terminated for cause. He got in trouble for taking some stuff that wasn't his and signing other people's names on it. And then he tried to use his now defunct ID to go get information about the case against him. He was a hell of a good firefighter, though. I mean, on the fire ground, you can't ask for a better man. But everywhere else, I get playing games and having fun. That's a part of the job.
Yeah.
When you come back from dealing with a bunch of dead people or nearly dead people or somebody losing everything that's precious to them, you can't sit there and dwell on that. But I took it in stride. One thing that happened back then, and I'd imagine it still happens from time to time, is if you have a suspended ceiling, you take an IV drip kit, poke the catheter right through, put it at about a 1 in 30 drip. You're laying there in the bed, and all of a sudden, boop, boop. They did that to me so often, I just turned around and landed on my feet. But it was a tough thing. Some things happened that, if it had not been kept in house, a lot of people would have gotten in trouble. One of the guys, and I'm not the same rank as him, but every time he had time and rank on me, and every time I worked with him, he let me remember that we had a physical altercation that he came on number 2 on. And he got ridiculed for months about the big rookie.
You hurt his ego.
I did more than hurt his ego. And of course, the joke is there's high tech and fast forms of communication. They got the telephone at first, and the telefax, and then somebody invented telefirefighter. I remember one day we had a guy who was supposedly a Navy SEAL. Supposedly, he was out doing his ambulance ride-outs in the academy, and first day of the ride-outs, second day of the routes, we heard from across town that, oh yeah, he's a SEAL. It seemed like a real nice guy. And at the time, he said, because of the tighter financial situations being in the academy, he was divesting himself of some of his firearms. And he offered me an M82A1 for $5,000. God, I wish I had $5,000 because they were going for 7.5 at the time.
Oh yeah, and
now it's more.
It's worse. And
I was like, oh man, that would be so awesome. But later on, it turned out there was something not right about that history, and
you lucked out.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm sitting there going, was that legitimately his to sell? Or is this like the Knight's Armament rear peep sights that you buy on eBay? You're thinking it's going to say, CAC on it, and it says USMC. And now you just realize you've bought and stolen government property. It's still a great site, but
eBay's going to have some issues.
Yes. Yeah. Well, my brother-in-law, when he served in Iraq, he said, and guys were coming back with duffel bags full of AKs. I think they dump everything out of that green rucksack and stuff everything in they could.
Well, when I was over there, when we were coming back, that they searched everything. You couldn't even have.
When did you serve? I'm curious.
2002 to 2008.
Okay.
And they made us dump everything. You couldn't even have particulate of sand. But we had people that would take the AK-47s, remove the engines from the armored personnel carrier tanks, hide the fucking gun back there.
Oh, that is wild.
And push the engine back in.
That is absolutely wild.
They came up with some interesting ways to do it. So, kudos to them.
I'm impressed. So my brother-in-law, he He joined the Army when he was in high school. He got in one of those early programs. He was a data signals intelligence specialist of some sort. When he came back, I learned a long time ago, especially with combat veterans, is you don't need to ask a lot of questions. If they want to talk about it, they'll tell you. But don't go
prying.
Yeah. I was at one point I was taking him to work with me because he was doing day labor at the junkyard I worked for, and I love my boss. He was a good guy, and hey, did you ever kill anyone? I'm going, and he goes, he looks at him for a minute. And he goes, when I was in the field, I carried a 249. When I started shooting, bodies started falling. And then he dropped it at that. But what he did is he tracked cell phone signals.
Oh,
right. So he sat in a trailer hooked up to every antenna they had in the area, every cell phone tower, everything they could get on the ground, and he just tracked signals. As an E3, when he was left in charge of that unit, if the colonel wanted to come on, it's permission to enter, sir. Sir, you may enter. Or if he was told nobody, you may not, because the classification he had was higher than the freaking colonel's.
That's what we had too. The shops I worked in, we had the classification. You didn't have to let everybody in.
No, it doesn't matter what their rank is. If they don't have the credentials,
bye.
Yeah, and so one time when he was talking, I said, "So is that all you did?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I had to carry the portable equipment." So he goes, "I had a bunch of tracking equipment I carried on my back." I go, "Plus the 249." He goes, "And the ammo load."
And that's not a light load.
No, when he came back, he's 6'1". He came back at 235, and he was rail thin. His dad's nickname was Tiny. You're from Texas, you know what that means.
Yeah.
He was his dad was 6'7" and 325 most of his life.
Wow.
So when my brother-in-law came back, and this is a kid at the time whose wrists are as big around as my ankles. When he came back like that, he got blown up. He's got traumatic brain injuries. It took him a long time to sort himself out. He had it was a hard time seeing that, and we didn't fully understand it at the time, but that was also when he came off of his combat tour, the amount of time they spent screening you was not what it was in 2008.
No.
He was still a kid.
Yeah. And even when they do screen you, it's as simple as, did you have any issues? Do you have any thoughts of hurting yourself? And there's two ways.
That's not enough.
There's two ways to go about it, though. At this point, they're asking you in front of your whole fucking company.
Yeah.
You ain't going to raise your hand and say you got an issue. But also, not. If you did, you just murdered your career. It's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. And it's the wrong way to do it. It's the wrong way to do it. You ever heard of Dave Grossman?
It does sound very...
He's a military psychologist.
Okay.
Does on combat, on killing. He taught it. He's taught at the academies. He has done extensive research into PTSD, and of course, with that kind of stuff, it's he doesn't just get into the mental process. He gets into the physiological processes. And I've read a lot of his work. I've greatly admire him. Some of it doesn't match what I see in real life, but I'm also not a psychologist with a PhD. Dr. Colonel.
I mean, you're getting there. You got your master's.
If I was younger, I probably would go back. I would love to study psychology, or sociology, particularly in human behaviors during high stress, widespread events. I served with the fire department during Harvey, and I find it absolutely fascinating to see how people behave under stress.
Oh yeah,
especially widespread stress. And before this, I was a firm believer when the lights go out, so does civilization. That's not true. There are small segments that lose it, but the amount of bravery and compassion that I saw during Harvey. So I worked in Kashmir Gardens at that point.
Okay.
Actually, I worked in Denver Harbor. I was an ambulance driver at that point, but I was riding for a captain who couldn't make it to work on the day that Harvey came in. So here I am, ambulance driver, got 8 or 9 years in the department. We made a working fire that day. And then that night we watched the UFC fight and the floods came in. And the Kashmir Gardens area is a very poor black community, predominantly black. It's transitioning to Hispanic. As property values drop, they start moving in and buying stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
And we had water. I mean, the shallow areas were waist deep. The city was completely unprepared. I don't care what they say about what a great job Mayor Turner did. We had nothing. The best I got was a dump truck to go rescue people. We had no drop-off points. We had no evacuation plans. We had no safe shelters. So in the middle of all this, I'm seeing guys coming in from Orange, Texas, Jasper, areas that don't have a good reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are coming in with airboats, skiffs, with a busted-ass canoe and swimming into the neighborhood with no paddles. Ma'am, can I help you out of here? Sir, can I help you out of here? I saw people running their boats down until the prop was just a hub because they're grinding on the concrete.
Because they're hitting that street,
Yeah. I saw semi drivers with big flatbeds going through areas where it was with a flatbed. They just drive right on in, load up, let's go.
Don't forget the Cajun Navy.
Yes, I mean, and again, these are people who had no reason to travel hours with all this stuff to help people. They will probably never know their name, never see them again. It was really, really amazing to see. It really, I wouldn't say it restored faith in humanity, but it showed me the diversity of what humanity is. Because at the same time, we also saw the liquor stores all get broken into and stripped out. We interrupted a crew trying to crack safes in fast food joints. But at the same time, I remember sitting here in this dump truck, and we come up and we find a paraplegic woman floating in a kiddie pool. We just floating. So we load her up, which was a real pain in the dump truck. There was 5 or 6 people in, and they all helped.
Yeah.
And then we got another report of a family trapped. We went in, and at that point, man, that guy who drove that dump truck, dude deserves a medal. It was absolutely amazing how well he did. He knew the limits of the vehicle. I remember at one point we're coming into this neighborhood and water that's about that deep. There's cars parked in the middle of the road at the ridge where it's shallowest, so we can't get through because there's deep ditches over there.
Yeah.
So you know what this guy does? His car's already done. He backs up, punches it, and then hits the brakes, sends a wave, which picks the cars up.
And pushes them out.
And then he comes through, and then we get to a point where he stalls. So I grab one guy, and I said, hey, we got 4 blocks to go. We wade in there, and we get in there, and it's another paraplegic. This dude's probably about 6'6" and 250 pounds. The water's up to him on his mattress. The family's there. And look, we're not worried about us. We're worried about him. And I looked around. I'm going, y'all got an air mattress? He goes, yeah, we slept on him last night. I said, I need your biggest air mattress. They go, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to put him in the air mattress and carry him out. They go, you're going to do that? I said, yeah. So me and it was a guy named Martin. He's great guy. We get him on there, and I said, y'all come with us? I said, no, we got babies to take care of here. I'm like, okay. They said, just take care of him. So we float him out. We get about 3 blocks out. Around the corner comes that dump truck. He found a way around. He got there. He knew where we were going, and we loaded that guy up. And but I remember at one point we had nowhere to take these people, so I got about 40 of them crammed in the back of the dump truck. We go up to LBJ Hospital. I got a couple of legit medical cases. I tell these people, I said, hey, we don't have a drop-off point. I said, LBJ Hospital is trapped. They don't have supplies. They don't have things to give you. I said, but I'm going to ask them to give you shelter. I said, if I can get you out of the rain and get you someplace dry, I said, but you can't go demanding and asking for things. If they have it, I'm sure they're going to give it to you and help you. I said, but all I can promise is I will fight to get you shelter. So I get out there, and they're like, oh my God, the staff. So the on-call or, on-site administrator comes out. One of the head doctors comes out. They're going, what on earth is going on? I told them, I said, look, this is what I've told them. I said, even if you can just put them in the parking garage, please help them. And he goes, well, what do you got? And I give him a rundown. He said, okay, take the family with the infants, send them to the ER. We're going to do vitals checks on the infants, make sure they're warm and dry. I said, and we got a couple of people who have pretty severe medical conditions. He goes, get them in there. And we go back and forth for a little bit. And they said, you know, we got a wing that's completely unoccupied. We're going to put them in there. He goes, you know, they'll be in the hallways, but it's climate controlled. It's dry. And he goes, we should have enough towels and stuff like that to at least help them dry off.
Yeah.
I just said, thank you. I said, he goes, well, you know, don't y'all have anything? I said, no, the city didn't plan for this. They completely did not plan for this. I spent 5 days doing that. Unfortunately, I rode for a very small amount of cash to cover one shift, and 2 of them were regular shifts. So I barely even got any overtime out of it.
Damn.
And here I am looking at police officers who got, and I don't begrudge them, but I'm going, why couldn't I have been the one who got 7 days worth of overtime and hazard pay?
They played the system well.
Yeah. And what was funny is a lot of them were trapped.
Mm-hmm.
They're you know, they couldn't get around the floodwaters. I remember at one of the stations there was probably about 15 police officers who they were stuck. They couldn't do anything. They were, you know, we worked with an Army unit, and those guys were, I can't even tell you how good they were. I don't know where they were from. They were not from Texas.
Yeah.
But they came in with various mine-resistant vehicles, real tall ones.
Okay, yeah.
Ones that aren't supposed to go through more than about 30 inches of water. They lost one during this. And I go, what happened? He goes, well, you know, we're going along and they lost the road and ended up in a ditch. I go, how deep was the water? He goes, about neck deep in the cab. I go, what? And he goes, yeah, I told him if there's people that need to be rescued. There was the sergeant in charge of the unit. He goes, I told him there's people that need to be rescued. I will back them no matter what they do. And he goes, there was people who needed to be rescued. So instead of stopping when the water got deep, they stood up and kept driving.
Oh, wow.
And I go, the vehicles could do that? He goes, yeah, the intakes and the exhausts are above the roof. He goes, as long as you can see out the front, everything is sealed. And I go, you got to be kidding me. And he goes, no. He goes, but I have bad news. They're pulling us out to go across town where they're talking about blowing a dam. He goes, they need us over there for manpower. He goes, frankly, I think we could do more. Mm-hmm. We can help more here. He goes, so I've told them I need 24 hours to get this unit out of the ditch. He goes, I can do it a lot faster. He goes, but I want to buy my guys time to be here. To do their job and to do the most good for the most people. I'd imagine there were units like that all over the city. I don't know if they were Guard, if they were Reserve.
It was probably National Guard, I would think.
I just knew they weren't from the Houston area and possibly not even from Texas.
Yeah.
But I was completely impressed with that. Just the idea of trying to
drive like neck deep water.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely insane. But they, that was a part of the whole thing about during these times, it brings out the best and the worst in people, and in most people, I think it brings out the best.
And it's sad that it takes tragedies, and it's usually that's the standard is there has to be a huge tragedy in order for this country to come together, state to come together, a city to come together. Yeah.
Race, culture, religion, politics, none of that mattered. There's human beings hurting. There's human beings suffering. And of course, as soon as the floodwaters recede, the bullshit comes back. The city and the state go back to fighting with one another. They try to take money from one another instead of saying, hey, why did we have this problem in the first place? Oh, it's because we built between 2 bayous that were a floodplain for the past 2 million, whatever years. Why are we not doing better?
Yeah.
One of my master's classes was actually just called resiliency. And we looked at a large scale study through TEACS, through the extension school at A&M. And they looked at Gulf Coast resiliency. You want to take a wild guess which state came in dead last?
There's many choices.
No, there isn't actually. There is one. We live in it.
Damn it.
So Florida did well because they've had so many hurricanes, and they've updated their laws and their construction code and their building code and their zoning stuff to affect that. Mississippi did really well because of the very tight communities. Louisiana did fairly well because they're used to live, a lot of the southern part of that is used to living in that. They did have some suffering because of government unresponsiveness. In Texas, it's systemic.
Oh, wow.
It's not a people problem. It's what kind of zoning laws do we have?
I could not tell you. No,
There's nothing to tell.
Yeah,
that's the point.
I was about to say it. We don't have zoning.
No, we
laws.
don't. We don't have. So you know what stops you from building in a floodplain? Insurance. That's it. You can build anywhere you want. Doesn't matter if it's So the things that we've done in this state, for example, if you go up past Katy, how long have you been in this area? Were you born and raised in Texas?
No, I'm a military brat, so I grew up everywhere. But I've been here for about 9-10 years.
Okay.
But I don't really leave my little area.
Okay. So west of Houston used to be a lot of prairie, and prairie grass grows very deep. Prairie grass survives droughts by having roots that'll go 6, 8, 10 feet underground. It may only be this tall, but that root structure
is significant.
Significant. It absorbs a huge amount of water. Some of that was replaced by agriculture, but what's happened is it's been, I won't just say paved over because it's not just the paving that causes the problem. It's the loss of natural environment. Its ability to move water and absorb water is gone. Houston is the bayou city because there's lots of bayous, and what are bayous?
Just water.
It's just water, and it's low-lying, swampy. It's been good for commerce, especially early on, being able to bring ships so far up to unload in Houston. But what's happened is we don't have plans.
Yeah.
Things that are most important when you want to build and get a building permit is, did you check clear? That's it. Did you check clear? Emergency and disaster management type people are not consulted in anything. We also have very limited home rule, meaning a municipality, we have state supremacy, which is good on some levels, but it also means, for example, the counties can't do anything the state won't enforce. So, easy example, there is no statewide noise law. If you live in county and you want to have a heavy metal concert in your front lawn at 3 a.m,
yeah,
you can.
Or a quinceañera across the street with loud bass blaring.
Yes, it's like on the one hand, it's great that they're doing that, but on the other hand,
what the fuck?
Exactly. So within municipalities, they can have that. So it basically means whatever the state says is what goes in the county. So that means a lot of your limitations on who builds what where and how they build it is pretty much non-existent. It's very minimal. Within the cities, money rules. That's why in Houston, the low-lying communities are always the poorest communities, the least served communities. The ones, from my eye, if you want to invest and make a difference, do you invest in people who are already up here, or do you invest in this?
We invest in the lower.
Because a smaller amount of money is going to show a bigger gain. You can dump billions of dollars into this and see 1 or 2%. But if you go to Fifth Ward and you resurface all the streets and get public transportation into employment areas of the city, you potentially have a lot more growth. What's crazy is pre-segregation, Fifth Ward was the thriving community. Why? Because the business owners weren't allowed to leave the community. They had to put all their money back into the community. They also had the best jazz clubs, the best Cajun foods. So one thing that I've learned is historic is if you and I wanted to go down and listen to good New Orleans jazz and have a good meal to go with it, we'd sneak in there after dark. And all the money we spent in that community stayed in that community. But when desegregation occurred, a lot of the people who were better off, who were better educated, said, I don't want to live next to the worst of this community. And they left. Yeah. And the people that were left behind, there was two kinds. There were those who just were too tied to the community. I remember making a call on a guy, 75-year-old, had some hip pain, had hip pain since the fall that morning. We get out there and what's going on? He goes, well, I got out of bed. My feet got tangled in my blanket and I fell and landed on my hip on the footboard of my bed. I take a look at it. I said, your hip is broken. He goes, why didn't you call this morning? He goes, I called my brother and he helped me get up. I go, what are you doing since then? He's sitting here on the porch. I go, aren't you hurting? He goes, yeah. I said, you could have called us. He goes, well, there's people around the corner. They're always, I said, they're calling us, but they don't need us.
Yeah.
I said, you've earned that right. And so it turns out he'd born and raised in that community. He built his own house by hand.
Oh, wow.
Was still living in the original house, and he was incredibly proud of what he had accomplished. And I looked at him, I said, dude, we're here to serve you. I said, you're the kind of people we want to serve.
Mm-hmm.
The people who don't call us when they don't need us.
Who aren't abusing the system.
Yes. I said, I said, there's no reason for you to have been sitting out here since 9 this morning in pain. When we could have come and gotten you where you needed. I said, it's not right. And I loved hearing the stories from folks like that, who lived through interesting times,
mm-hmm.
who had reasons to be proud. They didn't, they were defiant of the world, but they weren't violently angry at the world. I don't know if it was just because he'd gotten old enough he didn't care anymore, but I don't blame him.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, you get to a point where you realize that, it's like,
it ain't fucking worth it.
Yeah, I have people, well, why do you hate so-and-so so much? Well, I don't hate them. That requires energy.
Yeah.
I said I might despise them. I might look down on them. I might disagree with them. I might think they're a horrible human being. I said, but hate requires energy to feed it. And I said, I don't have enough energy to waste on that. I got other things. I got a kid to raise. I got a job to do. And I have the things outside of my job,
mm-hmm.
my real life. I've known too many firefighters who get to the end of their career and die.
Yeah.
They've lost their identity. They've lost their purpose. We had a chief who did 49 and a half years in the department, never took a day off, never used a sick day. The city made a big deal because we get paid out for our unused sick time, or
mm-hmm.
unused vacation and holiday time at our final rate of pay, or depending on which one is, either our final rate of pay or rate accumulated. He got a $250,000 check when he retired. If he had used that time, they would have had to pay time and a half to cover it.
Mm.
So it's cheaper for the city to pay us out for that time. But he died within 6 months. He retired 3 days later. He was back in the station every morning getting a cup of coffee because he had lost
his identity, his whole
purpose. His purpose is a big part of it. My senior captain committed suicide in 2015. I've been within that station about 6 months. Absolutely fantastic guy. Short guy, lots of energy. Hey, Captain, how you doing today? Oh, how you doing? How's your kids doing? He'd always turn it around on you.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask him a question about about something about a tactic, all of a sudden you're in an hour-long seminar. Just amazing guy. We didn't know much about him. We knew that he had been at a fire where he was the last one to see the firefighter who died alive. I made this last run with him, myself and another firefighter. We're on the ladder truck, and we got called out for an MVA crash with an extrication. We got a flipped over car. We have a guy half ejected, halfway out with the car upside down. We cut him out and we pull him out. He's probably going to make it, but he's pretty messed up. But the passenger or the driver, we don't know which was which, because they were both sticking out the passenger window. We pulled him out. We found a body underneath him. Unfortunately, some of our equipment had failed, and so we had a quick little training session on what we can do when your primary piece of equipment has failed.
Yeah.
And then he called out sick the next day and shot himself. We found out because his fiancée, who we didn't know existed, had gone to the house with her daughter to check on him and found him there with a note, and he had shot himself in the chest to be able to
have an open casket.
Yes. So we found out that I believe it was around 2001 was in that fire. We found out his brother came over and talked to us. We found out a couple of things. One, that our captain had been in the fire. When things went badly, he and another firefighter were separated from the crews and were making their way out together. And then they had a flashover. Flashover is when things get so hot that everything in the room simultaneously bursts on fire.
Oh.
So fire, spreads by direct contact. It spreads by stuff getting hot enough from being close to the fire, and heat spreads through rising.
Mm-hmm.
It also spreads through radiation, which is why you sit in front of a campfire, you can
And
feel
you
that
can feel
heat.
that heat, yeah.
So when it gets hot enough up here, everything below there can simultaneously catch on fire. So they had a flashover situation, and their masks melt through at 450 degrees. Flashover is at 1200 plus.
Shit.
So my senior captain, he got blown off the line, and he looked around. He couldn't find the other guy, but he happens to see the flashing light through an open door. He goes out. They said he came out, helmet's on fire, coat's on fire. And he's going, "We need to go back. There's another guy in there." And they go, "No, man, we got accountability. You were the last one." The reason why they had accountability is the rookie who died had come in early, like a good rookie's supposed to, because if you're on time, you're late.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And he showed up an hour early, relieved his guy. Well, the other guy got excited with the fire, took his gear, and went over there. So instead of 4 guys on that engine, they had 5.
Mm.
So they count. So every month, though, he took that firefighter's widow out to lunch and wrote her a check out of his own bank account because he felt after the funeral the department had forgotten about her. She had a small child at the time. He did that every day until December 2014, I guess, and sat down with them. And the son was now old enough. I think he was 16 at the time. And he told him about his father's last day of life. And he had just finished with his last rookie. He'd always had rookies. It was a station at the time that was not really well suited for rookies. It wasn't busy enough. But he trained all the time and made up for it by putting the effort to do it. And he was supposed to retire in March. And we also found out that his father was a suicide, and his grandfather was a suicide. And presumably he had some level of PTSD. I've heard some interesting numbers. And it's based on population size, which is to say about 2.5% of the general population will end up with PTSD in their life. If you look at the full population of the military, about 5% will end up, but it's concentrated in certain units, obviously. Yeah. You got to remember, is that dude who did garrison duty at Fort Sill for 15 years? Not to say he didn't fulfill a valuable job.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as when you're in the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think it was 5 to 10% for military, and then it was 10 to 20% for police officers, and it was 20 to 40% in the fire and EMS service, with the worst being paramedics because they usually get the worst calls.
Yeah.
But the fire service is the least diagnosed of them all. You don't share that stuff, even more so than the military. And that's current. And I know that historically, like you said, if 20 years ago you would have said, "Yeah, I have PTSD," your career's over.
Well, yeah.
The best you can hope for is, so we've decided to move you into the battalion historian position. It's a promotion that's parallel and is a dead end.
To the dead end, yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and even 20 years ago, PTSD was not as a common phrase as it is nowadays. No. And, I don't want to try to make it sound like, combat PTSD trumps everything else. PTSD is PTSD.
Yes.
But I think we need to treat it on a sliding scale, on a variable aspect.
Yes.
What I have PTSD from is nowhere near the same as you, and I cannot compare to your PTSD and vice versa.
No. So the psychological manuals that approach this traditionally said you must have a traumatic event.
Mm-hmm.
I caught PTSD due to this. And early research shows that, you're in your unit, you get ambushed, and you're the only survivor.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty damn good indicator of PTSD. But what if over the next 100 days you lost 1 man a day?
Yeah.
You can't point to which one.
Mm-hmm.
And with the and what they're finally starting to recognize is there is the way I've always seen it is everyone's got a tank and one day it's full.
Mm-hmm.
Your tank is different than my tank, and your experiences fill your tank up differently than mine. But one day we will all have it if we're in the wrong circumstances at the wrong time for long enough.
Oh yeah.
Some events it doesn't take much. Some events are repeatable. It's good to see it finally happening. My wife did her time in the military. I think she carried some anxiety from the way she was raised prior to that, which made her more prone to it.
Yeah.
She had some experiences while deployed that didn't help. Unfortunately, they were instigated by American service members. She said she found the best group of people to hang out with was the Australian Special Forces.
Oh, wow.
She said she lifted with them every day.
I bet.
And she said they were the most respectful soldiers she ever dealt with. Incredibly structured, rigid in their behavior as far as how well they treat people with equality. She said, I never felt a lack of trust. She goes, it was an American service member in the women's showers who ended up with a broken nose when he grabbed me from behind.
Good.
She goes, everyone over here, the first thing a woman does is apply to carry a handgun and get denied. And she goes, and then we go and get knives. We get flashlights with jagged edges. We get implements that can be used. And she goes, and unfortunately, it's all it takes is that 1 in 100.
Yeah.
And she goes, it's not something but what really got her is prior to military service, she was a forensic interviewer. She worked at the Children's Advocacy Center. She interviewed children who were victims of sexual crimes, physical crimes, and who had witnessed crimes. She testified, I can't even tell you how many times, as an expert witness. She was very well recognized. When there was sensitive cases the feds wanted done, they would a lot of times bring them out here to have her do them. When she came back from military service, we decided to have a kid. She was hesitant about re-upping at that point, and she tried a couple times, and this was 2009, and they were being weird. So she's like, you know what? If they're not going to call me back, I'm not going to waste my time. Screw it. I tried to talk her into saying, hey, take all your stuff, go get the certifications, go down the ship channel. And I said, work overtime. I said, like, if you go down there for 2 or 3 years at what they pay those cargo loaders down there with your military experience, I said, we could buy our house and put away 150 grand. I said, we'll live off of my paycheck.
There you go.
And she's like, I don't even want to deal with it. She goes, so she went back to school and applied with the local police department, and within 2 years became an investigator of juvenile crimes.
Oh, wow.
Worked 997 cases in 7 years. And unfortunately, these are the worst of the worst. And at some point, it went off the tracks.
Yeah. And it's kind of to be expected in a way.
Yeah. But there was no precipitating single event.
Yeah.
It's not covered. The law says it's covered, but they don't cover it. We spent 5 years in court trying to get coverage for it. The saving grace in all this is the UT Health System has a fantastic department for treating PTSD in first responders, veterans, and children who have survived severe abuse. Unfortunately, this was during COVID, so not much of it was in person.
Yeah.
But there was enough grant funding that we got all the coverage covered. Those doctors are absolutely amazing. These are people who, though they're not of military backgrounds, they're making their careers on studying this stuff and figuring out how to help you manage it. They will tell you flat out, it is not curable.
It's manageable.
It's
not
manageable.
curable.
Right. And so she went through some pretty intense therapy. She is on medication. It took her a long time to sort things out. The way she lost her job was disgusting. And it really, really has colored my view of local law enforcement. I know there's a lot of great individuals in it, but I look at the systemic problems and know that it is not a meritocracy. The best don't always, but it also, I've seen the same thing with workers' comp in Houston is deny, delay. PTSD is presumptive in our line of work. State law, it says if you have PTSD as a first responder, as an EMT, as a paramedic, as a firefighter, as a police officer, it shall be presumed that it was caused by your work. It was caused by the continuous stress and pressures of the job. But they don't enforce it. We had a senior captain with the fire service. Many types of cancers are covered. You think about it as fires these days are horrible.
Yeah, there's so many carcinogens and everything.
It's poly something or other.
Okay.
They're all long chain petroleum products.
Mm-hmm.
It's not wood and cotton and silk anymore, and wool. Even the wood that it is usually it's a manufactured wood. It's held together by petrochemicals.
Yeah.
Where you go and look at a campfire, you wonder why it's clean gray smoke. Then you look at a house fire or a tire fire, it's evil looking. It's absolutely evil looking. So he had cancer, and he asked for coverage, and they denied it. And he fought. But here's what typically happens. You die. You don't get coverage. You run out of money. You don't get coverage. Or you lose your job. You have no income. You have no health care coverage at all. And you have to drop the case.
And your health is just declining the whole time.
Yes. He won.
Good.
The state sustained it. And 2 weeks later, he died. Because it was too little too late. But he set the precedent. The military, police, medics, we all get treated the same by the government. They show up at our funerals. They campaign. But when it comes to taking care of us at the end, we're numbers. We're a cost. We're a burden. There's a lot of politicians I disagree with, but there's individual statements. I think Bernie Sanders is batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what he said one time? Because if you're a veteran, we owe you everything. I believe you should have the best coverage from the VA for the rest of your life because you got damaged in your service to us. And that's the first thing I've ever heard him say that I go, you know what? I don't care who says this. I agree.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be it should be, no, we're going to make sure that. So you served for 2 years active duty, 6 years in IRR and never did anything. But during those 2 years, you got hurt. Mm-hmm. During those 2 years, you were in combat. You get coverage for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's not a question. It's not you have to go to this office all the way down in Houston. No, you can go wherever you want and we're going to cover it.
I think that's the bigger thing. Let us go see a doctor that's not under the VA network.
Yes.
I don't want to see a VA doctor.
Yeah. Some of them are good. Some of them are not good at all. Some of them are there just for the paycheck because government service is consistent.
Or their intern hours. But
Yes.
I mean, look how long it took for them to recognize the stupidity, the dangers, and the consequences of burn pits.
Yes.
Because some jackass somewhere didn't realize that burning trash, rubber, all these other crap that you're talking about, let alone feces and urine, is not going to have a bad effect.
Let's go throw a bunch of uranium powder in there with it as well. Yeah. I mean, because so the guy who works under me, he's got pretty severe digestive issues because of it. Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't help that he puts Tabasco sauce and everything, but I'm sure nobody who does that.
Yeah. See, I actually can't eat anything hot anymore. I can't do spicy because of so many stomach issues.
Yeah, he's a great guy, but he is addicted to Tabasco and sugar-free monsters.
I blame the MREs.
But he was exposed heavily to the burn pits while he was over there because a lot of the medical facilities he flew into, the medical tents he was going in and out of, were downwind from the burn pits. And he shows repeated exposures. My other one who fought in the Battle of Fallujah, he's had bowel issues ever since then. He goes, I blame it on the two things: the burn pits and uranium exposure. He goes, everything was depleted uranium. He goes, artillery shells. He goes, we'd shell an area, the tanks would come in, and then we'd come in afterwards. He goes, and the best thing I heard though was a guy who drove one of the apparatus for this captain. He goes, man, your captain's like a duck. He goes, he's got to go all the time.
Hey, it happens.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, We've been sitting here for 2.5 hours almost.
Holy crap.
I need to go take a piss.
Sounds good.
To the point where I couldn't even just open a windowsill. It just was so much pain. Even now, we have a vacuum that we put in our pool, just lifting it out. Just that motion, it feels like someone's just taking a needle into your neck. And
yeah,
you can get the surgery to fuse it, but in 7 to 8 years, which it's been about, you gotta go redo it anyways. So it's almost like you have to have the surgery, and then you're gonna have to have it redone.
Yeah.
And
have you seen anything with stem cell treatment? Because I know one of the officers I worked with, he had majorly fucked up shoulder, and at some point he was able to get stem cell treatment, and it actually regenerated quite a bit of collagen.
Oh wow!
And stuff that because he goes, now don't get me wrong, he goes, it's the most painful thing I've ever experienced. He goes, they're literally sticking it in the middle of the wound site and injecting stuff. And he goes, they've done it for my spine as well to rejuvenate some of my discs. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, man, that sounds good. Because for years I wondered why between my shoulder blades it hurt all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, I've seen that they have it to where they have like this little gel thing they can put in place of the cartilage on your spine.
Man, I could use that.
Yeah, that's where I need, because my cartilage is non-existent. And it came to the point where, I broke my collarbone and screwed up my whole right side in a motorcycle wreck.
Do you still ride?
Not anymore, only because since I had my kid, I know that my hands, they lose feeling, and I don't want to be on a motorcycle and they just go out.
I understand.
So I had to tap out of the game. I love to ride, don't get me wrong. I will never ride a 3-1. The 3-wheel bullshit, no. It's either a 2-wheel motorcycle or nothing, just like it's only a 2-door Jeep or nothing. None of that 4-door Jeep bullshit.
I'm sorry, that's a suburbanite thing.
That Goliath or whatever, the Gladiator. You're an idiot for driving that shit.
You know what my daughter does? She looks at it, she goes, mall crawler, pavement princess.
I'm so glad that my other editing room guy's not here, because he drives a 4-door Jeep. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just now talking about that shit. Whoops.
Yeah.
But no, they wound up. I've had like about 4 different surgeries on my shoulder. They took the nerve completely out of my chest right here just to try to get rid of the pain.
Wow.
They refused to reset or even plate my collarbone because government and the military.
Yeah.
And so it's just always progressively gotten worse. And then the neck is, again, I'm a 150-pound dude carrying 80 pounds worth of gear.
Yep.
So it's just slowly has gotten worse and worse and worse.
No, I get it. The degradation after an injury, now you're making me inventory everything.
It's going to hit you.
Yeah. I'm 51. I maintain a real high level of physical readiness. I can't do what I used to do. I used to lift a lot of really heavy weights. Mm-hmm. Now I still lift moderately heavy, but I do a lot of body weight. But I've had to learn to work around injuries. Yeah. After the chemical fire in Spring Branch in 2014, I had severe respiratory issues. I had uncontrollable nosebleeds. And I got a note after the chest x-ray. By the way, T4 through T7 are shot. That's why it hurts.
Yeah.
That's why I wake up in the middle of the night with numb hands. If I sleep in certain positions where it impinges in that area. And but in the meantime, I've broken my left tib twice. Once working on a car that I managed to get started in gear while standing in front of it, pinning to the side of the house.
Nice.
My wife goes, she felt the whole house shake. And I said, don't worry, my leg cushioned it.
There you go.
There was an imprint in the garage door in the shape of my body.
Outline it out almost like a widely coyote.
That's how bad it was. So what do I do with my leg? The car stalled, fortunately, at that point. So I pushed the car off, climb over where I'm in the open, lay down, stick my leg straight in the air, and start yelling for help. Montgomery County Hospital District came out. They were fantastic. I knew that pain medication was minimal on me. They hit me with some Dilaudid. It did nothing. Zero. Zilch. You want some more? No. Don't waste your time. I said, I had a kidney stone once. They gave me morphine, and all it did was make me high. So it didn't do anything for the pain.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And so I broke it there. And then a year and a half later on a hike, I was 40 at the time. Me and a buddy of mine went up to Arkansas to hike the Eagle Rock Loop. It's about a 30-mile loop we found out later it's probably one of the hardest marked trails, and neither of us had gone camping since we were 18.
And y'all didn't research it before y'all went.
We did a little bit. We went and we got maps for it. We got some great geological survey maps, and we did it. And day 2, while on a water crossing, I slipped, went up in the air, and landed mid-tib on a rock, full body weight, and hiked out. We were in a position where my phone had no service. He might have been able to get some from a mountaintop, and we're thinking to fly a freaking helicopter in there into rural Arkansas. So we proceeded. At one point, I had a picture. My calf was about that big around. There was a big old knot in it. In fact, on certain days, like actually right now, I can find the spot where I can stick my finger in between the bone and the muscle there. So and then we had, that was when we were hitting the mountains. We'd been hiking a river valley, then up and down and up and down. Well, it started raining at that point.
Go figure. And
it was 35 degrees. So here we are in freezing mud, and my buddy's been telling me what fantastic condition he's in. We get up there, and he's shivering uncontrollably. And I'm going, we got to keep moving, dude. He's like, I can't. So we end up setting up camp for the night, and we had 18 miles out, and ankle deep mud. The rain started clearing up, but it was still in the mid 30s. So we get up the next morning. He goes, I don't think I can survive a second night like this. I said, okay, let's go. And so we go, and I'm, hey man, hurry up. Hey man, step up. Come on, man. We got to keep moving.
Keep the pace.
Yeah. And we stopped changing shoes for water socks on the water crossings. I think we had 17 water crossings that day. And so after 18 miles, we get back to the entryway, and it's another mile back to the truck. And I made the mistake of sitting down.
And then you lost all motivation.
Worse than lost all motivation. I lost the adrenaline I was running. Dude,
get that moment of rest.
Yeah, you ever been on that shitty, ruck march? Where you can keep going as long as you keep going.
As long as you don't stop moving, you can kind of force yourself through.
And I fucked up and sat down and it was just for a minute, and then I realized I couldn't get back up. Right about then, some dude drives by in a Subaru. My friend flags him down. He goes, "Hey, we're at the Winding Stairs trailhead. Can you give us a ride?" "Yeah, sure, I got you." And so my buddy goes, "So you gonna go to the doctor about this?" I said, "No." I said, "They're gonna tell me I was broken and take it easy on it."
Yeah.
I said, he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, last time it was an 8-inch vertical fracture, and I was off for 7 weeks. And I said, but I also had major compression injuries from that as well." And I've gone back 3 or 4 times now. I haven't fallen on it.
Nice.
I do have days where my leg just hurts and it swells. I've gone and jacked up this shoulder here. There's no cartilage in it anymore. A spine, reactive airway disease, basically chemical exposure induced asthma, heart problems. But what do I do?
Deal with it. Move on. I mean, I think one of the worst injuries I ever had, like take all the broken bones, the fractures and everything, means nothing. My stomach ruptured one day.
What the ever loving?
Okay, so I can't take over-the-counter pain medicine. If it's an NSAID, like Motrin, ibuprofen, I can't touch it.
So no 800s, huh? No horse pills. Dude, those things are magic.
That's the reason. Because the military was giving them to us so often.
It's like fucking candy.
Like candy. It would just slowly eat away at your stomach lining.
Yes, I've heard that.
And finally, my stomach one day just said, nope. I've almost had my appendix burst, and that was painful. This was worse. Like you couldn't. Only move you can make is just moving in writhing agony. And
I don't think I want that.
Yeah. So other than over the counter, your next level pain medicine like naproxen and Neurontin and tramadol, I can't take because it fucks my heart up. It fucks my whole pulse. So it's either I could take Tylenol or Percocet, Vicodin, and the major stuff.
Do they work though? I mean, are they effective? Do they reduce the pain for you?
Yes, but the side effects are just
okay.
I don't touch painkillers anymore because the military gave them to me like candy as well. Yes. And prior to some people's beliefs, I was able to just get off those with no problem. Thankfully, I've seen some people have very big struggles.
There's a huge variance in how we handle that.
Oh yeah, and well, and that's what happened because once the opioid epidemic kicked, the military said we're not handing out painkillers like we used to. So all those soldiers, all those veterans who were on painkillers for so many years, are now just cut cold turkey.
Wow.
And then if you try to go to the civilian route to get those painkillers just to either not have to deal with the withdrawal or to try to find something to take care of the pain, they accuse you of pill shopping.
I did not realize that. That's infuriating. That is absolutely infuriating because so my brother was a junkie on that stuff. When he was 14, he slipped a disc and he learned that if he took it, instead of taking his pain medication daily, if he waited and took it all 3 days at once.
Makes you feel great.
Oh, it was awesome. And he got hooked. So I've, fortunately for me, they're relatively ineffective. I had some neat talks with some trauma nurses and they said, there is a relationship between pain tolerance and effectiveness of pain medications. Is typically the more pain tolerant you are, the less effective the medication is.
Yeah.
She goes, and so there are people who will suffer pain that we absolutely have to give them to. So like recovering from my leg being crushed, I had bruising all the way up to here. My whole leg was swollen up, and the Dilaudid did nothing. I felt like I had a spider biting my neck. Was the best I got out of it. Dilaudid's serious stuff. You want to talk about people shopping for stuff? Oh man, I'm in so much pain. I need the Dilaudid now. It's like, we don't have that in an ambulance. And at the hospital, it says we do not dispense Dilaudid in the ER because the epidemic. There is a place for this stuff, but dear God, man, you can't take people who you have put on this stuff for years for pain management and just cut them off. That's evil.
Yeah, and see, because when I was in and broke my collarbone, I was getting 30 Percocets a month, 30 Vicodin a month, and sometimes you could easily at that point talk to the doctor and go, it hurts a little bit more than what I'm on, and they'll be like, okay, well, here's 60 at a higher grade. And
that's not responsible either.
And then you're going,
it's well-meaning, but it's not responsible.
At one point in time, I was prescribed 3 a day of these high-strength painkillers. And I was younger back then and didn't realize it. And again, I never really got hooked. I liked the feeling.
Right.
But
you're fortunate that your physiology, your psychology allows you to be more resistant to
thankfully.
Because with my brother, it's been horrible. He ended up on heroin.
I could only imagine.
Eventually, his addiction led to other problems, and he ended up in federal prison. And he's intelligence-wise, he's always been smarter than me. Common sense, not so much. But it's hard to say when you get hooked on that stuff so early. But just seeing. I hate to say it's a problem. It is a problem with our system, is that too often we're too focused on treating symptoms rather than treating problems. And that's not just a medical thing. We're discussing the medical thing, but we see the same thing everywhere else. We're going to treat a statistic rather than treating the underlying cause of the statistic. But I do remember a point where I guess it was probably about 12 years ago where we suddenly saw a surge of veterans calling 911, and they weren't always wanting to go to the VA.
Well,
and a lot of it had to do with long-term pain and previous injuries, but it never clicked to me that there was any kind of process where they're going to suddenly say, "Hey, we know we've been giving you Percocet for the past 15 years from when you got blown up."
Yeah.
You don't get it anymore.
Because they didn't want the liability of saying we created a bunch of junkies. And
I'd rather have a comfortable junkie who is under medical care than somebody who is suffering and turning to worse things to self-medicate.
Yeah.
It's, the self-medication process that many people find themselves in. Alcohol works a little bit. The problem is alcohol has a point where it helps things. You go a little bit further and you feel it all the worse. and then you have to keep going until you're unconscious.
I think with alcohol, I mean, I know a lot of people use that as a coping mechanism, pain management, or even their own personal therapy. As long as you do it within controlled, as in, don't get drunk. Don't get stone drunk.
Moderation is a good thing.
There you go. That's what I was looking for.
Yes. I mean, look, in my 17 years on the street, I have never gone to an accident with a guy who's so stoned he drove into traffic at the wrong way. He has never gone home and beaten his wife and kids. But I see that with drunks all the time. And I sit here going, you know, why are we looking at this in a way instead of saying, you know, what is, you know, what are you using? It's what are you doing?
Yeah.
Is a drunk driving crash any worse than somebody driving with their knees while shaving and eating breakfast and talking on the phone at the same time? The result is you're not behaving in a responsible manner and you've led to the harm to others.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's sad that, like, you know, even like you were saying with domestic violence and stuff, if you get two stoners in a relationship and they decide to fight, they're ending that fight on the couch watching a fucking series and chewing down some Doritos.
Exactly.
They're not going to be fist fighting.
No.
And if the cops happen to get called, all you're going to be like is, hey, can you get some Taco Bell for us?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Come on, dude.
I know with excesses of use in anything, there's going to be, but again, moderation.
Mm-hmm.
Moderation. I had a funny call. We get called out for seizures at a grocery store in the 5th Ward. We get there. There's a young black woman laying there, frothing at the mouth, seizing and convulsing. So we load her up, bring in the ambulance. Turns out she doesn't have any kind of medical history. She is on PCP. And I was like, why? I was like, you know what? Never mind. I said, you know, you're lucid right now. Let's talk. I said, first off, we know you're under the influence and we know that you're likely to go back down again. So we can't release you. I said, you know, if you come out now, you're probably going to get arrested and put back in the ambulance. I said, so right now you're going to be responsible for an ambulance bill. Do you got health insurance? No. I said, that's $1,800 minimum, right? I said, you're looking at about $3,800 in the hospital. And she goes, well, I can't go. I got a kid. She's early 20s. She got a 12-year-old. So her life is already a shitstorm. It's bad. And she's like, I can't, you know, my mom can't know I'm like this. I'm like, look, I hate to come across this way, but next time you do this shit, ask your dealer if you can do it in his backyard. I said, that way you can run around, you can do whatever you want, and we're not going to bother you. But
at least she wasn't naked running across the highway.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how often that comes up, naked and sweaty. You know, I've had events where people are on top of the fire engine.
Oh, jeez.
And the kinds of, you know, it's one of those things like, hey, go back in your house and lock the doors. Take cell phone video from inside your house.
I mean, if you're going to do something stupid, like even with the drugs, because I've never done hard drugs. I never had a desire to.
That's good.
At one point in time when I was little, maybe I thought about trying ecstasy just because there's the hype. But then I
remember that point. That was the thing.
But then I did a high school research paper on it.
Yeah.
And oh my God, learning that it just eats your brain away. I'm like, I'm already a dumbass. I don't need to help myself further. I don't need to exacerbate that. But I've never really saw the need or the desire for any of that. Now, give me a beer, I'm fine.
Yeah, and you know, and that's again, we get into the diversity of humanity and how we deal with stuff. I can tell you. One of the things I saw in particularly poor communities, it doesn't matter what race, it doesn't matter what cultural background, but when you're stuck in a poor community, you have a lot of glass ceilings. And they're usually very clear glass ceilings. You're not aware they exist.
And they're very low hanging.
Yes. But the thing is, what you're raised is this is good enough. And that's a big difference between the poorest communities and more modest working class communities is you're taught that there can always be better. But when you're normalized to this is good enough, that getting a government check, sitting around watching TV and doing drugs is good enough, that's normal.
Yeah.
The people who tell you it's not are the crazy ones. When you go into some of these communities and see a young man who can do double entry bookkeeping in his head with metric to English system conversions, and maintain a book of contacts and clients all in memory. Can you, and they're working their butt off. Can you imagine what they could do if they were working in a real small business?
If they even had just the minimalistic amount of resources to accomplish that.
Right. But a lot of the system is not designed that way. So like here in the state of Texas, if you want to have a hair braiding business, and that's a very lucrative. So like the captain I work for, he's a white guy. He adopted a son from Ethiopia, and there's some traditional, hair techniques that his son really likes, and he pays for them, and he'll spend up to $180 at a time for the proper treatment and the proper braiding and everything like that. And so to do that legally in Texas, you have to get a cosmetology license. You have to pay a tax to do something that you have been doing your whole life. And if you take a young woman who has learned to do this from her older sisters, from her parents, and now is, doing it for her friends on the side in high school, and comes out of high school and can make several $100s a day doing people's hair, working 6 hours a day, seeing 3 or 4 clients a day, making $600-800 a day. And then you tell her that she's got to do 1,000 hours of internship. She got to pay for all this schooling to do something she's already doing. What does that teach us? What's the point?
Everything costs.
Well, and why are we making it such an exorbitant cost to allow somebody to make a living? Obviously we have to have taxes. We don't survive as a society without it. We can't count on the inherent good nature of people to give up their hard-earned income.
To donate.
Yeah. I mean, but I sit here and I look at local taxes. At least when I pay my property taxes, I get a statement in the mail that says this is where the money goes. Law enforcement gets this much. It gets broken down to these agencies. It's less of a black box than paying federal taxes.
Yeah, but if you downright own your property, why are you having to fucking pay taxes though?
And that was another interesting thing that got covered in my master's degree is about taxation and finance. Is the healthiest governments use a wide variety of small taxes. So property taxes, it is more burden on the property owners. It creates a system where, in order to get you to pay them, there has to be the constant threat of, we're going to take your land away from you. But what happens if property values are speculative and they shoot up rapidly? Like a certain area we might be living in.
Yeah, they're just going to charge you more.
They charge you more, and I get it that things cost more. I work at the will of the people. But you have to have a wide variety of small taxes. You can't count on one single thing.
Yeah.
You need to have a little bit of sales tax. You need to have a little bit of property tax. You need to have a little bit of income tax. You need to have a little bit of value-added taxes, excise taxes. But you can't hit one area and depend on only one area. Because, if you're relying on income taxes only and we go into a deep recession and people lose their jobs, if we go into a deep recession and sales taxes go down because nobody can afford anything, where does that leave government?
We collapse.
Exactly. But if you have a little bit here, a little bit there, I used to be a big advocate of flat tax for income tax until I actually took a graduate level class and they got into the details of it. One of the things they taught me is, it was a real simple thing that most people get, is let's make an assumption, and we're going to throw out these numbers because they're easy to calculate numbers, not because they're real numbers.
Yeah.
But let's say that an average income in the United States, in order to not just survive, but have a modest middle class income, is $100,000 a year for your household. And you make $100,000 a year, but you pay 20% of that to your income tax. So you're an $80,000 a year household. Does that cut into your necessities? Probably.
Most likely.
What if you're a $50,000 a year household who now has to give up $10,000? Most definitely, right? But if you're $1 million a year household and you're still paying the same 20%, does that really cut into your ability to survive and thrive?
No, I'm not cutting your lifestyle, but
Right. But it doesn't, it could be, so at the bottom end of it, it's a survival issue. At the high end of it, it's an inconvenience issue. And now it doesn't make me sit here and go, oh yeah, we need to, milk the rich for all we can. But it leads me to believe that a progressive system where when you have more, you can afford to give more. I'm not a person of faith. I've never been baptized. I don't have belief, but I like a lot of the things that faith teaches. For example, when you were well off, it is you have an obligation to your fellow man to help them, whether that's by paying a tithe to the church or paying to charitable or help, directly helping people. But we survive as a society based on our willingness to cooperate and collaborate.
I mean, if we don't help each other and lift each other up, then no one's going to succeed and we all fail.
Right. And I try to go through my life with, if I'm in a bad mood, I try not to show it. Because if I come in contact with 100 people today and I'm an asshole to every single one of them, my assholism spreads.
You just screwed 100 days.
But imagine if I was nice to everyone, even if they were dicks to me, and 3 people got it. And those 3 people said, wait, that guy was nice to me. He just made my day. And they go forward with a smile and they're nice to the next 100 people they meet. Now I've lifted up a bunch of people. Instead of trying to drag everyone down to my mud pit that I'm wallowing in, it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard. I tell my crew all the time, I don't care who you like and don't like. I don't go out there, put your professional smile on, treat people with respect even when they don't deserve it. If you don't like them, come back to the station, close the door, go into the dorm and say the worst things in the world you want about them, as long as when you're in public, you represent properly. I'm not I'd get to deal with people who in normal circumstances I would absolutely hate. But I've learned how to be sympathetic to them, to have empathy with their problems, but also without losing the fact that I'm the one who's called there to fix a problem and I have to be in charge. I have to make decisions. I try to make informed decisions. I try to make responsible ones. But I don't want people to, I don't want to live in a world where we're all suspicious of each other and hate each other because it makes life really tedious. And then when I hear people say that's awfully hippie or awful this or awful that, I'm going, no, it's human.
It's common sense. I mean, and I've gotten into a couple of religious talks with people on here, and my philosophy is the same. There's a lot that you can learn from religion, but there's a lot that if you just take the religious aspect out and just live by those values, they could be everyday values applied to everybody. I mean, don't kill. Don't beat your wife. Respect your fucking parents. I mean, simple.
Be nice. If somebody's down, lend them a hand. I always talk about it all the time at work, the Good Samaritan. The modern Good Samaritan is somebody zipping by on the freeway with a cell phone. Let's take that back to the biblical teaching. Oh, man, looks like you got your ass whooped. Oh, they robbed you too. I'll get you some help. March into town 3 hours later. Tell the guard there, by the way, about 3 hours up the road, this guy he's in rough shape. They beat his ass. They robbed him. Could you go do something about it?
Oh, hell, we was in North Carolina, and it was like a bad rainstorm. We wound up in a 40, 50 car pileup on the freeway. Oh, man. The back of our Murano got slammed 55 miles an hour. We were at a dead stop. Truck just slammed us.
Oh, my God.
You see all this destruction, and, our car was unrecognizable. I'm surprised we walked away with just a scratch on me, basically.
Wow.
But yet you got these idiots out there with their cell phones. And I'm like, fucking hurt people. Like, the guys who we rear-ended because we got pushed into them got out and were making sure we were okay because they heard the kid crying because my son was only 6 months at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very first car wreck. And we just had that car for 2 weeks.
Oh, my God.
Brand new.
Of course. That's how it's, yeah.
But I had
it's never the car you're about to replace. It's never the car that is so broken down you can't fix it.
But I had the Gap insurance, so that saved my ass. That
smartest thing you could have done right there.
Funniest part is I didn't even know I signed up for it. I just was one of those idiots in the dealership going, yeah, well, I could use that. I could use that. Let's get
that
this over
sounds
with.
good. Well, why not? I want to get done.
That was worth it, though. But
Yeah.
no, and you get these assholes that just want to film it for their little TikTok or whatever. But I remember there's a time that I thought it was a law that you have to stop. If there is no emergency personnel there and you're the first one to drive by, you're supposed to stop and help, because that's why they have the Good Samaritan law to where
You're
do
protected
stop,
if you do stop.
Yeah, you're protected.
Yeah. So, as a first responder in the state of Texas, I'm required by law.
Yeah.
If to stop and render aid. Fortunately, I've been in a situation typically where, if I see something occur in front of me, immediately both people are popping up and out, and I was like, okay, if they're moving like that, they don't need medical.
Yeah.
They need a police officer. But I can tell you, it's interesting. It spurred memory. And back in June of 2019, I was driving to work. It was a Sunday morning, and I worked out at Station 44 on the east side of town at Federal Road and I-10. And it was a Sunday morning, and I had my cruise control set at 60 miles an hour because I was sitting there watching my truck's fuel economy go up to 32 miles per gallon.
That's always a good feeling.
Yeah, exactly. No, it doesn't matter how much fuel costs. It's a small diesel truck, so I'd bought it for that, and everything is going good. And I'm coming in front of Gallery Furniture, and all of a sudden, a man comes running out in the middle of the freeway in front of me, and he's booking it. And I immediately, I didn't slam on the brakes because it's a pickup truck.
Yeah.
It's very likely to swap ends or lose control. Hit the brakes pretty hard. Tried to, he's going this way. I try to turn this way, and I got him right in the headlight, hood, and then he starts doing somersaults through the air. I pull over immediately, and I sit. It's just a fraction of a second. It's like, did this really happen? I look out the window, and I see a shoe go flying by. So I pick up the phone, I call 911, and, I identify myself. I identify that I'm a first responder with the city of Houston. I need fire and police out here. I need the freeway blocked. I'm on the main lanes. And then they're telling me, sitting here down. I was like, so no, I'm done with you. I got to go back. So I immediately go back and check for vitals, and he was deceased. Fire department gets there, shuts it down. Police get there, they shut it down. They have a unit come out who is specialized in intoxication. They cut them loose. Next guy that shows up is a commander in traffic division. That's level of our district chief. He's on his way to a side job. He pulls over, sees it, and calls a lieutenant out. Calls the unit back. I had to go down to the Joint Processing Center at the Harris County Jail for a blood draw. Once the official on-duty guys came on, they called it immediately. The first thing I thought of, though, is given the area of town, is that this was a Hispanic man probably from Central America, and they couldn't identify him immediately, and the check is going to disappear. The family will never know that their livelihood is deceased. I felt no guilt about it because I did everything I could. He took all that control away from me.
Yeah.
And it was, and so I call work and I say, hey, I just killed a pedestrian. I guess put me on emergency vacation for now until we figure something out. And then the city politics, they were going to leave me on a vacation and let me burn my own time. They weren't going to let me come back to work till I was cleared by the psychologist. Fortunately, one of the chiefs above me called the fire chief out on it. And the fire chief said, put him on city business for 24 hours. When he comes in on Tuesday, department psychologist will meet him at the station. But it never occurred to me to just sit there. It never occurred to me. The first thing that occurred to me is, and it wasn't even because of what my role in it was, this is what I'm supposed to do. When there is somebody who is hurt, there's somebody down in front of me, do you need help?
Mm-hmm.
Can I help you? In this case, it was check vitals and discover that they weren't non-existent. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable when my wife kind of stops out of nowhere because she's by herself, but I know she's a very competent, police, military, grew up in the woods of Magnolia. She's capable, but it's still, I know she was downtown Houston for something and there was a guy laid out in a driveway and she stopped her car and went to check on him. And, it turns out he was under the influence of something. But the thing is, she got him to get up and move out of the driveway because it was you couldn't see him, so you came around the corner.
Very dangerous.
Exactly. It was going to go from a man down to an autoped and probably fatality. I was like, it still bothered me. But on the other hand, I was very proud that she had learned from her experience in the police service and from my experience in the fire service is the right thing to do is stop and say, are you okay? Can I help you? Not go flying by. You know how many homeless people I've had to wake up on their naps and say, hey, do you mind moving behind the bushes? Some asshole in a Audi just flew by at 100 miles an hour and said you were dead. He's like, what? I said, yeah, seriously. I said, dude, you're actually in a really nice spot. It's 70 degrees outside, this warm, sunny hillside. He goes, if I was going to take a nap, I had this. And I said, but do you mind moving up the hill? I said, I see some bushes that'll shield you, but it looks like a nice spot. And he's like, oh, yeah, no problem, man. I said, there was, at the same time, I envisioned some of the guys I work with, cussing them out and yelling at them. And what's the point?
There isn't. Like, there was one time me and my mother were driving and we come up to this railroad tracks. The arms come down right on the windshield of the car in front of us.
Oh, crap.
Train's coming. I just don't even really think about it. I just put the car in park. I get out, I go up there, and I hold up that little guardrail, and it's not that heavy, so. Still. And she just backs up real quick, and she's like, oh, my God, thank you so much. I didn't realize how far forward I was. Yeah. I get in the car. My mom's nearly mad at me, like, what are you doing? It's like, she fucking needed help.
Yeah.
What is she going to do? Back up, rip the arm off, rip up her hood? She probably doesn't have the money to fix that. Or is she going to sit there and let the train clip her?
Then they're going to bill her for the arm, and that's not going to be cheap.
They're going to mark that up big time. You're going to pay about for 4 of those.
Exactly.
And what if she was just a little too far forward and that train clipped her? That means she gets clipped. The guy next to her gets clipped.
Yeah.
It ain't worth it.
Train stuff. I've made one just with the light rail downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Those are brutal. People don't realize that they don't have to be moving fast when they weigh 40,000 pounds, 60,000 pounds, or in the case of a freight train, 40,000 tons.
They don't stop easily. What is like a mile to stop is what I remember.
If they're moving at a good clip, a mile or more, depending on the load. I mean, over here in 2854, I saw a load going through. I don't know what all was on it, but a third of it was heavy military equipment, and that train was probably over a mile long
and booking.
And it was. I mean, for it was probably 25, 30 miles an hour because it's moving, but it doesn't stop.
Yeah. Well, did you see that one video where the cops they put someone in the back of their cop car on train tracks? Yeah, the girl, the cop, I think it was a female. She stops on the train tracks, gets this person out. Now, if I remember correctly, the person actually really did nothing wrong. It was a misunderstanding.
Right.
They put her in the back of the cop car, handcuffed, on train tracks, and they're sitting out here doing whatever the fuck they're doing, and you could hear the train in the distance on the body cam, and they're still going about their business.
We got our lights on.
And all of a sudden, you hear it louder, and she goes, oh, shit, my car's on the train tracks. And that's about as far as they moved. They didn't even try to go for it, which, I mean, at that point, there was nothing they could have done. I believe the woman in the back of the car somehow fucking survived. By a damn miracle.
Yeah.
But she's going to get a paycheck from that department.
Yep. That's actually one of my biggest gripes about working with the police department is my station's right there at 610 and I-10 on the west side and 290. Mm-hmm. So we make crashes all the time. And I respect that they have a job to do. But in the case of most minor MVAs, You need to get in there, take the pictures, get off the freeway, and get everyone out of trouble, out of harm's way. Blocking the freeway while you do an investigation for 2 cars that can drive away is ridiculous. And of course, we're at a juncture where it's Northwest Division, Southwest Division, and Central Division. So, can you imagine if oh no, that's Northwest Division. South, Northwest. Oh no, that's Central Division. South Division. No, that's Southwest Division. Southwest. We already told you this is the Northwest Division, and that's to the point where we're going. We don't care. Send us a sergeant.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, when a sergeant gets out there, things get taken care of. There's that lack of common sense sometimes.
I don't think sometimes. I think a lot of times. Well, and not to disparage them. I think with cops, a lot of it is ego.
Yeah. I'm a cop. You pay attention to me, and in their and I've seen that with the fire service as well. You don't talk to me. I'm a firefighter.
You're a fucking public servant.
Yes, exactly. And that's one thing I always keep in my mind is I'm not there because I'm so badass. I know there's always somebody better than me. There's always smarter than me. When I work at my normal shift, my crew knows who I am. But when I go to a new station, so on Monday, I went in with Monday I was on a station in the southeast side with a crew I'd never worked with. I'd been in that station once in my career and for a couple hours. And I get in there and I start asking some questions. Well, Captain, is there anything you want? I said, well, I'm the odd guy out. Mm-hmm. I said, you guys have all been here longer than me. Some of you have been in the department longer than I have. You're working with a captain who had more time as the senior captain than I have as the service. I said, I'm not smart enough and experienced enough to reinvent anything. I said, so you guys tell me what your standard operation is. And I said, I'll tweak it a little bit. I said, they gave me their operation for going to the roof to ventilate. I said, okay. I said, well, I'll be first on, last off. They said, our captain used to that. I said, okay, good. Then we're on the same page. He goes, and then he goes, well, one thing that he always liked to do is if we're doing a primary search, if the engine company is coming through the front door, we'll go around and go through the back door. I said, okay, we'll keep doing that. And these guys, the whole time I was getting these surprised looks from these other guys. I'm like, dude, I'm not special. There's
no reason to go in there, ruffle a bunch of feathers for no reason.
My job is to come in here and keep us safe and try to make well-informed decisions. I said, I don't need to be the best firefighter on the ground, and I probably never will be, but I need to be a leader who can trust the skills, the experiences, and the judgments that you guys have, because I may still make a decision you don't like. And I said, during the emergency incident, you will not question me. You will obey. You may say, Captain, I'm concerned about that. And I may say, you know what, you're right, we're changing the plan. Or I'll say, no, we're not changing the plan. I said, afterwards, question me, ask me. During training, question me, ask me. Those are the times we have to think and to process. And I said, and that way I can sit there and give you a justification for why I made the decision I did. And you can justify verbally why you disagree with it. And I said, and it doesn't mean we have to hate each other. It doesn't mean we have to fight. But I said, but during the emergency incident, I'm the one who's responsible. I'm the one who is going to take the heat. After a fire, if the chief comes up to me and goes, Captain, you guys, thank you for doing such a good job. You did great. Every time my response is, Chief, I couldn't have done it without these guys. All I did was lead them. Mm-hmm. They did the work. But you know what happens when the chief comes to me and says, hey, man, Captain, what happened? Chief, that's on me. These guys just followed my orders and they did they did a great job. Unfortunately, I made a bad decision.
I made a bad call. It's on me.
Yeah. Recently we had an elevator rescue. It was a $7 million house with a private elevator. It was stuck on the second floor.
That money really did good.
Yes, it did. So we get out there and they tell us just, tear out the top panel on the wall. It's drywall. Drywall's cheap.
Yeah.
The stainless steel can be cleaned up and put back in. So we tear it off because they directly told us and they're videoing the whole thing. So we're working on it. And I finally realized that we can't do anything without doing more destructive work. So I call it the technical rescue company. They come out there, they come in, they're all, yeah, we got this, we're the special forces. We got our cool helmets and we got, 15 minutes later, they're sweating and swearing just like we were. And they go and they get their extrication tools and they tear that thing up and tear it apart. I walk out afterwards, pull my guys aside. I said, hey, this is a crew I'd never worked with before. I said, I need to explain something to you. I said, we could have done that from the beginning. I said, but these people are worth, they just built a brand new house that is $7 million on the market. I said, they're very amenable right now to what went on. If they change their mind tomorrow and decide to come after us for making a bad decision, we're not on the hook anymore. I said, we went to a higher authority, a more skilled authority. I said, we could have broken that thing 2 minutes in.
12 times over.
Right. I said, it would have been easy. We could have got our spreaders and our cutters and just taken that door apart. I said, but right now this is about making sure that if they do change their mind and they come after it, we as a department can say, no, we put our most skilled people on it. Here are their lists of qualifications. But one thing I took the time to explain to them while they were working is that they were saying, why is it so hard? I said, well, here's the thing. I said, we have two sets of building code. We have commercial code and we have residential code. I said, firefighters get no input on either of them. We don't have lobbying powers. We don't have millions of dollars to spend, but builders do. I said, commercial code is very regimented and very strict. I said, it's because it deals with so many people in a building. I said, literally, there are 2 to 3 patterns of commercial elevators out there that are not freight elevators. I said, we're well equipped for those, and 99% of what we do is that. I said, residential elevators, there's very little code regarding it because builders say it will cost them too much money to make a standardized elevator. I said, so while it has similar systems, it's not laid out the same.
It's not universal across the board.
Exactly. And once I got into that, they were going, I understand. I said, I'm sorry it's taking so long, but a lot of the tactics that we use just don't apply here. And while on paper we can describe the systems and they're the same everywhere, I could do that, with firearms.
Yeah.
I could describe an M14 versus an M4, and on paper they sound the same. And watch. I want to see you field strip both of them.
Tear her down and see how long it takes.
Yeah, you're going to need to go back to Full Metal Jacket to see somebody.
Well, it's like you can field strip the M16, no problem, but you field strip something a little bit higher, that spring can kill you.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize that. It's like, I think even the 249, because I know a 50 caliber, the crew served, that spring will go through somebody.
Oh, I have no doubt.
I think the 249 does as well.
Yeah, and they're very great systems. They're very well. I mean, hell, a Browning M2, that's functionally unchanged for about 100 years now.
Yeah,
and it is still a fantastic weapon system. A friend of mine who was a Marine back in the early 80s said he hated in movies when a helicopter would fly by and there'd be bullets flying everywhere. He goes, it doesn't work that way in real life. It doesn't
happen. Well, she hates watching military movies with me because I'll sit there and point everything out. I'll be like, we don't march like that. No, that's not a full ruck. He's got fucking styrofoam in the back.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing with fire stuff.
Yeah.
So you ever seen a Tacoma FD?
No.
I forgot who it's on. It's from the same guys who did Super Trooper stuff.
Okay.
It's actually surprisingly accurate to the fire service.
Usually the ones that are fucked up and funny are the more accurate ones.
Well, there's a lot of games that are played in the station. There's a lot of fun that's had. And the point of that show was it's the rainiest city in the U.S., so they're least likely to fight fire. So they have to find out how to make the shift pass.
They're bored.
Yes, we laugh and we have a lot of fun at my station. I get passed over most of it because I have the rank, but it also, I laugh and I smile, but there's days where I literally have to say, hey, enough for today. I don't need people's feelings getting hurt and getting angry. I'm okay with you guys having fun. I mean, the junior rookie went to the senior rookie with a squirt gun while he was on the ambulance and just unloaded on his crotch. Geez. He found out how fast she could run when he went after her. But what he didn't know is she had an ambush set out outside the bay with another guy with a hose. So he came out and just got drenched. And so they come in, I go, what's going on? I said, so-and-so just ran past me and looked like he pissed in his pants. But ironically, she doesn't know it yet, but the next morning at about 4 a.m, she had a run and she left. He went to her bed and dumped a huge handful of stripper glitter into it. Jesus. That's super fine stuff. And so she came back, she rolled her bedding up And she hasn't been back since then.
Oh.
So next week she's going to set it up. When she goes to bed in it in the dark, the glitter's going to be all over, and you can't shower that stuff off.
Take a video. We got to see that.
Yeah, it's I've told them, I said everything. It's things like this is okay. I said, but it's got to stay inside the station. I said, if I catch anyone touching anything that's safety related, people will be written up. I will be asking for suspensions. Mm-hmm. I said, bunker gear. Tools, no. Anything on the apparatus, no.
Have that limit.
Right. I've had somebody dump Kool-Aid into my gloves. Powder. Then you sweat in those gloves and your hands come out purple. But here's my problem is I felt all the grit inside of them. So I thought something from the fire was getting inside of them. And I nearly got into a throwdown with the guy who did it.
I don't blame you.
And what was funny is I had told him, don't do that ever. There's lots of things that are fair game. I said, I come back to the station, you can dump water on me, you can chase me around the station with a fire hose. But don't. It's there's the laughter and the fun and the defusing is I encourage it. I want my people to come to work and know that they can play when they're not at work. I tell them when it's time to work, we're going to work really hard. When it's not time to work, I said, show up, do all your safety checkoffs, make sure all your equipment's in good repair, make sure your personal gear is ready, take care of daily cleaning duties. We're going to train a little bit. I'm always going to try to leave a couple hours out if you need to rest because you just came off another shift that was hard, or if you'd like to lift weights and exercise. Or if you have a continuing education that you need to work on, but at the same time, I don't need you creating problems when there aren't any. I will never ask you to, for example, reload everything when they announce dinner. Mm-hmm. There's just things we don't do.
Yeah.
But I've known officers who do that. Comes, hey, that hose load looks crooked. We're going to unload all 1,000 feet right now. It's like, Captain, they just called dinner. He goes, did you not hear the order I just gave?
All right, power trip.
Right. But that's the difference between a leader and
a dictator.
Yeah. But it's been an interesting road. I've never saved somebody from a fire. Been doing it for this long, and but what's funny is how did you know you were going to go into the military?
I looked at my life and realized I had no plans.
Okay.
I mean, because I've said it before. Once I graduated, it was a small town, nothing to do. I wasn't going to college, none of that, and I didn't feel like working at Walmart or something. I needed to get out of the country town and go experience stuff. So, but all the way up until my 17th birthday, I swore I would never join the military because my father was military.
Oh, that's funny.
I was like, I'm never doing it. I will never fucking join. Fuck the military. And okay, I'm signing my name.
Yeah. So I went to, my dad's a PhD psychologist. He was we went to Presbyterian Seminary prior to that. I grew up all over the country. I was born in Northern California, moved to Texas, moved back to Northern California, to Nashville, to Georgia, to Chicago, to Hawaii. So what's the first thing people ask me? Oh, what branch is your dad in? I said, no, he just had a series of midlife crises and started well before midlife.
He just liked to go a lot of places.
But he gave me a very good high school education.
Yeah.
It's a school that is probably well over $30,000 a year now. Everyone pretty much went to college right out. It was a good school, very good school. But I was complacent. I thought I was just kind of going to breeze through stuff. But I remember junior year taking a career aptitude test and kind of hands-on technical type jobs. Not just basic mechanics, but where you're like a hands-on engineer type work. Mm-hmm. Army and Marines, a non-commissioned and commissioned officer, fire and police service were the top 5 career fields they recommended. I said, to hell with that. I want the corner office with the view and moving stuff around on a table and on a computer.
Big desk, one of those oak desks.
Exactly. It's something that you come in and like, wow, this guy's got a big desk. He's impressive.
Oh, he's got that leather chair.
Yeah. So needless to say, I fell on my face. I dropped out of school. I got drunk and joined the Navy. Well, I joined the Navy in the Clinton era when they were downsizing everything. And I came off of a 9-month drunk. And I went from Hawaii to Great Lakes, Illinois in November. Needless to say, they saw through me fairly quickly and said, we're separating you. You're not suitable for military service at this time. And what was messed up is originally I went into the Army. And I took the ASVAB and they said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a motherfucking Green Beret. They said the ASVAB doesn't get you that.
Yeah.
I go, what was the point of the test then? And so I said, so how do you get there? And they said, well, you're probably never going to get there, but we can structure your contract in such a way to give you all the prerequisites. I go, so what's that? He goes, you're going in as infantry. I said, okay. I said, I want to go to 25th ID in Schofield Barracks. I didn't want to be far from home. And they said, okay, that's fine. Light infantry is good. What's that like? What light infantry? He goes, well, you either ride in the truck or your gear rides in the truck. And the light infantry, your gear rides in the truck. So they set me up with an airborne school, jump school, and 2 other schools. Got them already written into my contract within a certain, and I know how that works now. It might or might not happen, but at least it gets your foot in the door. They also had unit assignment with the light infantry scout squad. I go, what is that? They go, oh, so you don't get trucks. You march ahead of the column. You bring radio equipment, everything, and enough guns and ammo to fight your way out if you get caught.
And you go across that line.
And I said, okay, that sounds pretty cool. And then somebody said, you ought to go talk to a Navy recruiter and see what they can do. That was a fucking mistake because those guys are salesmen. I got sucked in by a guy who can't swim and was a cook. But they put me in as a nuclear technician. Guaranteed E6 by year 2, that kind of shit. Almost 2 years in training, working on nuclear reactors and all that before you even touch fleet. One of the biggest bonuses at the time. I still look back at it and go, man, I wish I would have gone to the Army.
I mean, because even when I joined, it was like a $10,000 sign-on bonus. And again, thankfully, I'm a military brat. So I knew I wanted to get something in my contract on my first duty station. Yeah. I chose Germany.
Oh, cool.
Was not going to go to Fort Hood or fucking Alaska.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of places you want to go to. Germany's pretty badass.
Well, because we had a bunch of people there that, one, he went on to work with NATO in the Netherlands, I think it was.
Wow.
We've had people go over to Italy because they're airborne units and stuff. And like, man, I want to, but.
No, I look back on it and, I ended up, after the Navy, I ended up homeless for a while. Out of embarrassment, my parents gave me an airplane ticket and said, why don't you go to Houston? Your grandmother lives there and she'll take you in. I was like, okay, why not? I got a year of college that doesn't mean anything. I'm not going anywhere in life. And I've been here since August of 96. It still took me about 10 years to pull my head out of my ass and grow up. I would start to step forward and fall back again. Ran up between student loans and credit card debt. At one point, I was $40,000 in debt on a $6 an hour job. But somehow I survived. Thankfully, my family down here was morally supportive, not so much financially, but they're all modest working class people, and they at least gave me the support of a family where I had fallen out with them. I went for 12 years without speaking to my parents. Right before I started Fire Academy, while my wife was deployed, I finally went and visited with my family in Hawaii, and I went for 2 weeks, which was too long. I don't dislike them. I'm disconnected from them at this point. But what led me back to it is I took another career aptitude test after trying to be a union stagehand. Worked in IT for quite a while. Worked as a mechanic. I was a mechanic at a power sports dealer. I got that job right after I got applied for the fire department. But I took a career aptitude test, and guess what stuff came out on top again?
Fire department, police, military.
Yeah. Problem is I was 32 when I took that test. So I started looking into where I could go in the military. And I was like, well, let me look at the Marines and the Army. And I was like, okay, Marines, not a chance in hell. Their age restrictions are set in stone.
Yeah.
But I had a college degree at that point. And if I got medical waivers and got a local congressman to back me, I could have probably gotten into the Army. My wife wasn't too keen on that. And so I was like, I'll try the fire service again, especially after she told me that
you're not allowed to be a cop.
You're not, exactly. And, of course, I didn't know at the time that 80%, 85% of what you do is EMS anyway. I'm looking back and people ask me, have you ever rescued anyone? I was like, yeah. So this one time in Hawaii, my buddy wanted to get a door-to-door salesman job. And we went out. It was a business-to-business door-to-door bullshit. It was Temu or Alibaba crap that, you come into the business to sell cheap shit. So he wanted to do this job, and so I went out with him for a day with this guy, and we're driving along in a bright pink Honda Civic with a Testarossa body kit. And my buddy's with another guy. I'm with this short Filipino guy who was a hell of a salesman. Mm-hmm. And we see a column. So we pull over. And there's fire. There's not fire, but there's heavy smoke pumping out of this apartment window. Mm-hmm. So we jump out and we start running door to door, knocking doors. We clear the building. We get around, and what does this crazy dude do? He jumps over into the patio. I follow him because what am I going to do? And the windows, he grabs a piece of patio furniture and finishes breaking out the rest of the window and starts yelling, is anyone in there? And he hears coughing. Mm. So we got a window this tall with black smoke coming out here. He climbs in, grabs the guy. I lean in and carry the guy out, pass him over to somebody else. And then he looks at his watch. He goes, oh, crap, we got another appointment in 15 minutes. We jump in the car and we're just now hearing the sirens. And I walked away for that day and they said, you're interested? Absolutely not.
It's like, who was those mass strangers?
Yeah, it was wild. And
Temu salesman.
But it's I've never had an opportunity in a real fire situation. It feels really weird. When I was in high school, we rescued a guy who was drowning. Thank God there was a couple of service members nearby. Mm-hmm. This tourist, so we were at a beach called Makapu. Makapu has a heavy shore break. Okay. It'll be knee-deep water with an 8-foot wave breaking in it. Mm. Well, you're used to it. You can still get hurt, but you know how that is. It's like being on a motorcycle. Yeah. It's incredibly dangerous, but if you're used to it, it's relatively safe. Well, some people went there who were not used to it. And next thing you know, we're swimming the guy in. We get him up on the beach. We're both 16 at the time. And we look down and we're like, what do we do now? Even though we've just taken a CPR course. But we were so stunned. Yeah. A couple of guys, presumably Marines, could have been Army. It's hard to say because the Marine base was closer, but Hawaii, military's everywhere. Yeah. They saw what was going on, came down, immediately started rescue breathing. The guy was alive when he left in the ambulance. But, me and my buddy, what do we do? It's like as soon as these service guys get over, we're like, we're done. We're going back in the water. Oh, yeah. And we're going, that was fucking weird.
Well, I mean, the same thing happened to me. Like, it was like 16, 17 years old. We used to go down this little bayou to go swim. Yeah. Had railroad tracks on one side. We used to jump off and shit. Well, later find out how dangerous that was with all the refrigerators and the rebar that was thrown in there. Yeah. Well, we're out there.
Yeah, you don't know at the time. It looks quaint and it looks
fun.
Yes.
But we're sitting there and they had a rope swing out there on the nicer area. And then they had a dock. Well, there's this a Spanish family on the dock. Couldn't understand anything being said. And then at one point in time, the dad swims away underwater and then the family's frantic. I looked over. I was like, the dad's in the water. There's 5 of y'all. Now there's one less of y'all without the dad. One of the kids fell in the water.
Oh, shit.
No one else could swim. He's underwater, can't hear shit. And so I come off and go into the water. I run down the side of the little bank line, jump in the water. And I didn't realize how shallow it was. I just fucked my face up, hitting the ground. But I was just trying to get in there. Yeah. Get down there, and it's almost about another foot or two before you can touch the ground. just grabbed this kid, put up on the dock, and as soon as the kid was fine, I went back to what I was doing.
Yeah, well, you got a messed up face to deal with now. But
That-
but the thing is,
yeah.
can you imagine how badly that would have gone if nobody was there to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's where I look at things, and and I look at that as the same way as I look at those people coming out from East Texas and from Western Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And on that case, it's even more than just a gut reaction. This is a planned, thought out reaction. Humanity is really remarkable, and that's good and bad.
Oh yeah.
And what's funny is, despite all that, my daughter, I tell her, you can do anything you want except for be in the military, the police, or the fire service. She's like, why not?
Because
I'm like, trust me. I said, I said, I won't be disappointed if you choose to go that route. I said, but I want you to do something that, at the end of the day, you're not a number.
Yeah.
You're not forgotten.
You're not just another name etched onto a plaque.
Yes. My wife and I, every time we go on vacation, wherever we go, if there's a military memorial, we always go. It doesn't matter how small or how big it is. We always go. I remember when the Vietnam Wall, they had the sections of it doing the tours.
Yeah.
I went and saw that in the 80s when I lived in Chicago. And I remember that year, the Veterans Day Parade was dedicated to the veterans of the Vietnam War. And one of the worst memories out of it is there was a man dressed up in a black pajama type stuff with dressed up as a Viet Cong fighter. And even at that age, at like 10 or somewhere between 9 and 11, I realized how wrong that was. We celebrate veterans not because of the politics. We celebrate veterans because they're the ones who are willing. The biggest thing they did is they signed on that line saying, I'm willing. We can judge the politics behind it all the time. But, I think we've engaged in plenty of unjust wars. But at the same time, I will never look down upon the men and women who serve, who say, I'm willing to put my personal feelings aside. I'm willing to say I will probably follow orders that I don't politically agree with.
Yeah.
Because that's not, I signed up to allow others to, and I tell people the same thing with the fire service. I said, we are socialized medicine. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you think about socialism, progressivism. I said, we are socialized medicine. And when you signed up for this job, you signed up to put your personal feelings aside as for the greater good of society, because we as society have decided that this is a service we want government to provide everyone.
Yeah.
They'll tell you that as a soldier, you're protecting the citizens of the United States, but it's the residents. And not all of us are citizens. But they get the same level of protection from the military that the citizens do. I've never gone on a 911 call and said, so we want to check in your immigration status before we provide this service.
Do you have a valid ID so we can see if you're a legal resident?
Yes. Are you capable of paying for this service, sir? When they tell me I can't afford it, I say, I don't care. Don't worry about that right now. I, as a professional and somebody who's done this, I see that you have a medical condition. You need immediate care. And this could, it's not life-threatening in the moment, but if you don't treat it, it will become life-threatening. And if you have a choice of potentially dying or potentially having medical debt, I said, it's pretty easy to shrug off on the medical debt. I don't sit there and coach them on how to give all kinds of fake information, but at the end of the day, service goes above politics. It goes above worldview. It takes a special kind of person, I think, to thrive. And I think we all get bitter and jaded about it at some point in our career, because we look at the people who have become political at the top of it, who have forgotten what it is to be on the ground. They've forgotten what it is to be the ones who do the sweating and the bleeding and the dying and the watching the dying. They forget what it is to be considered a statistic, we only have this much to allocate towards healthcare for these guys. So if it costs more, we just have to give each less.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be an issue of, if the doctor says you need that surgery, you need that surgery. If the doctor says.
Yeah.
I don't want a doctor who's political. I want a doctor who's a doctor. I want a doctor who comes in and says, I need to return this guy to optimal condition. I need to make a realistic assessment. Is this an injury or a medical condition that we can cure and return to 100% function? What level of function are we looking at? Or is it a condition that must be managed for the rest of their life? And that leads to weird things like guys with 100% disabilities who are fully operational career firefighters. But, you look at it as well, is it an immediate disability where it stops you right on your tracks? Or is it something that you will have to manage for the rest of your life? And if you don't manage,
what's the outcome?
Exactly. My buddy who fought in Fallujah, he gets weird every October, November. They got to change his medication. He's one of those guys that if he doesn't wake up for a call, you don't go and shake him.
No.
He's one of those guys you throw toilet paper at from across the room.
or you just grab the foot from a distance and be able to run.
Yeah. Another thing you do is pick up the bed about a foot and let it drop, but you have to be sprinting on that one.
You got to sprint before you let go.
Yeah. I had a guy, classmate of mine through the academy. He did a couple of combat tours with the Guard, 11B. He was in the shit. If you woke him up the wrong way, he came up swinging, and if he caught you, he's
it's not going to be pretty.
No, he will beat you until you're no longer a threat.
Well, and it's come to the point that, even with my kids, we've warned them, look, if you need to wake us up, you wake up mother first.
Yeah.
And then she will wake me up because she can handle me.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know what you're doing. So, and she's laughing.
Yeah, no doubt. I know with my wife, fortunately, her conditions have never manifested externally like that. But for many years, she would run interviews and suspect interviews in her sleep, crying. She had an incredible knack for drawing people out. Where she'd go in with one case and then she'd come out and she goes, I got to file like 16 more charges on him because he confessed to a whole bunch of stuff because I was nice to him. And I'm going, how do you do that? How do you go into somebody who is molesting kids? And, but yeah, don't slam a door in the house.
No. Don't drop anything really big and heavy.
Yes, especially on a tile floor.
Or even just like dropping a broom or the mop.
Yes. Sneezing or coughing unexpectedly can make her jump sometimes.
Sneaking up on somebody.
Yeah, I can't pull those kinds of jokes on her anymore. My daughter's learned the hard way that surprising her is probably not a good idea.
See, I love it because I could still try to sneak up on people, and it's like nothing will happen. They'll just scream. But sneak up on me, you're gonna get that elbow or something.
Yeah, and I laugh about that because my daughter will try and sneak up on me, and I'll be like,
"You really want that?"
But the thing is, it's hard for me to startle, and I kind of use that as a judgment of how my stress levels are doing. But there was a great line I read in one of my promotional books, and it was I believe it was a communications book. It was about crew communications and handling and how it works in stressful events and stuff like that. And they said there was this guy who was always calm, old head fire captain, been doing it for 30 years, just almost relaxed, walking on the fireground, taking care of business. And they finally asked him, he goes, why don't you ever get excited? He goes, it's not my shit on fire. Because I'm here to fix the problem, not become a part of it. And one of my training officers in the academy was a crusty old gunny, tough dude. But once you got through that shell, he was one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He saw early on in the fire academy I was having some issues with claustrophobia. When you put on you put on mop gear before, Now let's add about 40 pounds of weight to it and doing heavy labor in it.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing though is the mask is here, and then we had a hood that came in and we left us with this. And with the demand valve on that, you got to draw about 5 to 7 psi of vacuum before it opens. So your normal breathing, you're just normal breathing, right? But it's almost a little bit of a gasp to make that initially pop open.
Yeah.
Because if you breathe light, it won't open on you. So he could tell immediately, and instead of screaming and yelling at me, I came out after an exercise in our burn building. He goes, "Not you. You're not done yet. Plug back in." "Yes, sir." Walks me back into the very middle of the building to a closet where it's pitch black. He sits me down facing in the corner. He goes, "Just have a seat." I'm like, "Sir?" And I'm sitting here going, "What is he doing? I don't understand this. This really sucks. It's really dark and it's really enclosed and there's nothing going on." And I'm sitting here, and he made me breathe until air ran out and the mask sucked into my face, told me to unplug and walked me out. And he said, if you don't deal with your shit, I'm going to have you removed from the fire service. And I was a little bit scared of him. I respected him when we did pull-ups. He was built about like you. He put on that 30-pound vest, though. "This is how you will do pull-ups." Dead hang, and he's talking to us. Slow motion. Still talking to us. "If you do not do pull-ups like this, they will not count." But then after, he was one of the first guys once we all passed the academy to come to us and congratulations, welcome to the fire service.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad that you had the will to push through. He goes, "This isn't an easy job, and if we're easy on you now, you'll never be good at it."
Exactly.
Great guy. Never knew that. Served in the Marines. I believe he was old enough to have seen combat, like before the mid '80s. Yeah. I don't know if he was quite old enough to have been Vietnam, but it's hard to say because it's been 17 years since the academy, and I hadn't seen him for about 15 years. I know he was old enough. He did a full career in the fire service. I know his wife passed away before him. But if all you knew was one class in the academy, you'd hate him. But he understood the process of weeding people out who didn't fit, creating people that were needed. Obviously, there's not many situations that in my work that requires the instant response. Very typically, if we pull up on a fire scene, back in January, where my rookie got to cut a hole, we knew what we were doing. We pull up. I said, "Hey, you get a saw, grab a long tool. We already got a ladder set up. Get the secondary saw." I said, "Follow me to the roof." But everything went right. There wasn't a situation where I had to make a snap decision, and but to prepare for combat is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's like how they train you to shoot. They're not training you to shoot at a nice circle target. They're teaching reactionary shooting. When you see that silhouette and you've been ordered to fire, you shoot. So that way, when you're in the field and that dude pops up in front of you, and you're in a free fire zone, you shoot. You don't sit there and go,
"Can I get how far away is that?"
Yeah, it's is that the right one? It needs and we train some of that, hose line deployments, ladder throws, and ladder carries, stuff like that, where like we have rookies pull hose lines off, and we'll have them do it 10 times in a row, over and over again, to get that muscle memory,
that repetition.
Yes, some people require more. But a lot of, the goal is to get them the basics so that way they can start to be thinking firefighters. When you move from the engine to the ladder truck, the engine is all about hydrant to pumper to nozzle. You can do other things, but your primary job is moving water to the fire.
Yeah.
And some guys, that's all they want to do. You get in the ladder truck, it's everything, including that. We could be throwing ladders to go to a roof. We could be throwing ladders to rescue people. We could be doing primary search. We could be going in and pulling a hose line with the engine companies. We could be cutting you out of your car. We could be a rescue crew. If you go down inside, we're coming in to get you. it's a giant toolbox. You have to have a lot of freedom to operate and to think before you act. It's not it's not to the point where you just kind of do whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of versatility, and I love that part about it. It engages my ADD.
There's a method to the madness.
Yes.
All right. Oh, I'm starting to sweat again.
Yeah.
So 3 hours in, for someone who didn't think they would have a lot to say, I think we proved you wrong.
Well, I came in here wondering what I was going to say. I had no real clue what to expect. Like I said, I'd listened to, particularly Sergio's.
Yeah.
That one really caught me because I was like, wait,
Yeah.
I think I've met this guy before. But it's a neat, it's neat to see how people chose to go into this service role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And I think that's one of the interesting parts about this is because, you were saying you came in, had kind of really no clue. We don't try to do a back and forth question answer thing.
Yeah.
You come in, tell your story, be as real, as genuine as you can be. And as you can tell, we'll sit here and talk for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really, it gives me a lot to think about. There's definitely almost a therapy aspect to it.
And that's what I tell people. Like, even for me, just sitting here, I really don't like talking a lot, but sitting here just listening to people and hearing their stories and stuff, it's a therapy for me. And I mean, so far, everyone that's sat down in that chair, I can't get them to shut up. So if you guys are talking, that means you guys are comfortable. You guys are able to express stuff and express stuff in ways that you can't necessarily do either at work or at home or with your you're with your buddies and shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's the thing is my closest friend, he doesn't get this.
Mm-hmm.
I've been friends with him since freshman year in high school. I talk with him by text almost daily. He's an attorney. He retired from his work to do public defense work because he wanted to help people who couldn't help themselves.
Oh, that's good.
He goes, most of them are dirtbags and don't deserve it, but I have a duty. But he still doesn't fully get what I do, and so I can't talk to him about stuff. Another close friend of mine absolutely does not get it. And as much as I love my crew and my family at work, I have two favorite times of the week when it comes to work.
Going home.
That's the other one.
Okay.
The first one is coming back, is reconnecting with everyone after being a few days off. But my uniform and my job is not my identity.
Exactly.
It's an important part of me, but when I come off shift and I take that shirt off, I'm no longer Senior Captain Acklin. I have friends who are retired, who are out of the fire service now, who they'll still call me captain or senior captain, depending on when they worked with me. I told them, man, I'm just Willie. Mm-hmm. They said, I know.
But still that respect.
And they said, it's hard. It's like Brad Langford. I could never not call him captain. Mm-hmm. He will always be my captain. That's how much I look up to and respect the guy. But it's neat being able to talk to somebody who has a grasp of the mindset, but is also not somebody who is so close that I know the details of their life as well.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you shit about fire departments and firefighting. And to me, it's interesting sitting down here between you and Sergio, learning and hearing the different stories and stuff.
Yeah, but the mechanism of what we do is really, I think, a lot of what draws good firefighters and good military people to it is a sense of service, a sense of pride and commitment, mm-hmm. A sense of community. I hesitate to say patriotism, but I know that's an aspect of it, because I think a lot of, when you're young, things like patriotism matter more. When you get older, you start seeing the people behind the patriotism. You see the value that you do with your unit, with making people feel safe, that government, there is an aspect of government that is there to protect them and not be a pain in the ass.
Because the government knows how to be the pain in the ass.
They're pros.
Oh.
I mean, well, we'll get our, we get our bills in April and October.
Yep. This is.
Well, Remy, I really appreciate this. I feel not like there's a weight off of me, but I feel a sense of freedom.
Well, that's good. And, it's like I tell everybody else, if you ever want to come back on, please do.
Yeah.
We love updates. If you got members at the firehouse that want to come on, anyone that you think you could suggest or recommend, your wife.
I'd be curious. She told me this morning, you're allowed to talk about anything, including me. But I still feel somewhat protective.
Yeah.
But for me, like I mentioned in the document I sent in is awareness of PTSD and how it affects people differently, and we've gotten a lot better at a society of recognizing it and treating it. PTSD is not a yes or no circumstance.
No,
it's a spectrum. It's you can be this or you can be this, but you can also be both of these on the same day. And the hardest part, though, is I think recognizing yourself that you need help. And
admitting it.
Yeah, and I was very hard for my wife. No, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm like, yes, there is. I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah.
And we've gotten better with the military, with the police, about recognizing that it is not a sign of weakness to say I need help.
I think that's also a stigma among men that we need to kind of squash, because
the stoicism, face into the wind, strong defender. But sometimes it takes a huge amount of strength to let that down and say, hey, I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah.
I can still do it, but I need help. I still wonder where I fall in that spectrum.
You'll find out eventually.
Yeah, we'll see.
But again, I appreciate you taking the chance. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you telling the story. I mean, it's been a hell of 3 hours, actually.
It doesn't feel like it.
No, it does not. So we started at 10. Oh, well, we got about 3.5 hours recorded, which I'm being told.
Well, so I hope somebody can listen to this and appreciate, and maybe, if it gives them a sense that they're not the only one who's experienced it. They're not the only one who sometimes wonders.
Well, look, Sergio's video hits you, and you're here. So
yeah, I can't believe where he came from and where he is.
Yeah,
there's
so far a lot of really good stories being recorded, and we still got a bunch left to be recorded. We got a bunch scheduled. It's interesting to hear these life stories and to hear where people come from, what they've overcame, what they've dealt with, and to see where they've risen to. So, but definitely come back on. Try to get the wife on. That'd be a fun one.
Yeah,
you'd be our first husband-wife duo.
I may talk to. I'll probably talk to her about it. I think it would do her some good too.
Yeah.
She's her grandmother was an immigrant. Her father is a UK citizen. He lives with us now. Her and both her siblings have all served. Sister was 82nd Airborne.
Oh.
Brother was first ID, and then my wife, I forgot what she was attached to, but there was some sibling rivalry in that.
I was about to say, you just hit both the units in my household, 82nd and first ID.
Yeah. Her sister, her husband, she left at 18 years, broke her back, on a jump. Brother-in-law was most of his career with 82nd. Then they moved to Fort Sill and then Okinawa with the promise of 3 more years and we'll give you another promotion. It'll help your retirement.
No.
Yeah, but they live out near Redstone Arsenal.
Okay.
And they work in military support companies. She's in logistics, which I understand can be quite lucrative in the civilian side, where on the military side, they're going, oh, this is what you get paid.
Here's pennies on the dollar.
Yes. But thank you again. I think I'll let her know it'd
Definitely
be good for her, I think.
Hey, throw it back at her. She's the one who convinced you to come on. Now you convince her.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So you get to go home and brag and say how great of a time it was and convince her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Moves by the locker, turn out you're waiting. You'll never know what awaits another mile. Every shift starts with an empty promise that today might just be calm somehow. Then that speaker breaks.